Very good morning to you. In your SAfm sports headlines, soccer action, Orlando Pirates keeping the Betway Premiership title race alive after a crucial win over Stellenbosch FC. And in rugby, the Lions URC playoff hopes remain firmly in their own hands. We'll find out more at around 6:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We start off in the Eastern Cape with very heavy overnight rains in the Rebecca area. Multiple routes are flooded, and they are major routes as well. The M4 Deal Party, Target Kloof, N17 at Swarkops, part of Stanford Road, Chatty Dip, Newton Park, the N2 at John Talent, Addo Road, Burt Drive, flooding all over Rebecca. Take it nice and easy this morning. That heavy rain appears to be moving to the southern around Knysna, and there is the real possibility of flooding out that side as well this morning. Coming out of Pretoria, the N1 going south, looking a lot better than it did yesterday. No major backlogs from Montana down towards the N4, Emily split. Durban, a jackknife truck earlier this morning on the M7 around the N2 seems to be cleared up. That traffic moving away from Titran Road towards Queensborough is moving again. And Cape Town, just a reminder, 2 road closures. Chalmers Peak Drive stays closed due to rockfalls, and the Toys Kloof Pass Paarl and Worcester remaining closed due to Sunday's truck crash. The M1 Huguenot Tunnel, the alternative route. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 7 after 6 o'clock. A very good morning to all of you that have tuned in to the show as you get ready to start your day. We appreciate your company. You're listening to Cathy Mohlahlana. This is the National Briefing as we bring you clarity, context, and a conversation. Well, what can you expect on the show today? Motorists, we're all bracing ourselves. The price of fuel has jumped up quite significantly. From midnight, petrol is up by more than 3 rand a litre. Diesel is even higher. But alongside that increase, an uncomfortable question that government has to deal with this morning. Why was there an error in how the prices were calculated? We'll unpack what went wrong within the coming 3 hours of the show. Also coming up on the show this morning, crisis at the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. It's been placed under administration for the 3rd time since 2018. This morning, we move beyond the politics to the practical. What happens now to the allowances, to the accommodation, to the appeals process? We'll speak to the service providers that interact with NSFAS on a regular basis. And of course, the SIU announcing that it has uncovered a well-orchestrated syndicate inside Home Affairs. It involves visas, permits, and allegations that parts of the system were effectively for sale. We'll get to the bottom of that in the second hour of the show. As always, we invite you to be part of the conversation. We'd love to hear from you as the show unfolds. The numbers to use this morning for our studio line, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, send those voice notes and text messages to 0614 104 107. That's 0614 104 107. Plenty coming up over the next 3 hours. We're looking forward to being in your company as you step into your day.
For news on South African industry and mining, Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly has you covered. Click through to Creamer Media's Engineering News each day for the latest on the people and companies shaping the energy transition and South African industry. Keep your finger on the critical minerals pulse by visiting Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. For deeper insight, subscribe to the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, out on Fridays. Creamer Media, current, credible, comprehensive.
The East London IDZ, an entity of the Eastern Cape Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism, presents the Eastern Cape Digital Economy Summit 2026, taking place from the 7th to the 8th of May at IDZ Conference Center, bringing together leaders, investors, innovators, and technology partners to shape the province's digital future. Investors ready to tap into the digital growth? Your next opportunity starts here. East London IDZ, business streamlined.
Today's the day. SAF's 12th birthday dash kicks off at 9 a.m. sharp. Here's the deal. 50,000 12 Rand tickets will be up for grabs for domestic travel until the 30th of November 2026. But due to a high fuel cost this year, fuel surcharges and taxes will be added to the 12 Rand base fare. Even so, it's still one of the best birthday bargains you'll find. Power up your laptops and get ready to dash to flysafair.co.za. T's and C's apply. All right, it's 12 after 6 o'clock. Let's take a look at what's making headlines on the front pages of the national publications. Let me start with the front page of the Sowetan. Inclement weather, it says. SA on high alert. And it's got a picture of just motorists on the road and two gentlemen who are walking. They're using a bench to cover their heads. I guess they got caught up in the storm, but they had to be where they needed to be. SA on high alert, it says. National disaster teams ready to intervene in areas affected by floods and extreme conditions. And we'll hear more about that shortly as I get into the weather. And as a cold snap in Gauteng is predicted to persist, incessant rainfall continues to hit many parts of the country this week. So the Sowetan doing a deep dive on the weather. The front page of the Citizen, the NHI deaf to public. That's part of the arguments being heard by the Constitutional Court as the BHF fights back on the NHI Act and argues that the process simply was not the correct one. MPs purely tick-boxed with no regard for questions raised about the NHI's costs or affordability. That's part of what the court is hearing this week. Also on the front page of The Citizen, they've got a beautiful picture of the South African music sensation Tyler. They say she shone in her peacock-inspired creation at the Met Gala in New York. And of course, she is really one of South Africa's best exports in the entertainment world. And then the front page of the Business Day, red tape cut, but still not a fix for FMD, that's foot and mouth disease. The front page there saying government has capitulated to a request made by farmers to be able to make decisions about vaccinating their animals, and that these are now decisions that they can take up voluntarily. There is, however, a process that they'll need to follow, a strict process. The matter has been gazetted. We know that the foot and mouth disease outbreak has been in a state of disaster, which was declared in February 2026. There's now a plan to vaccinate 80% of the national herd by December. This is as government tries to regain control of that particular outbreak. Also on the front page of the Business Day is the NHI court battle. It says they're revolving on lack of clarity on funding. And then the front page of the Star, they're going with top cop claims around a 200 million rand cocaine heist was orchestrated. This is evidence from the Madlanga inquiry yesterday, which heard the sequence of events after the seizure of 541 bricks of cocaine valued at 200 million rand from a Durban depot in 2021. It culminated in the theft of drugs from the Hawks storage facility in Port Shepstone. The Major General Hendrik Flynn saying it was by design what we saw there. I remember the story when it happened. It made headlines in the country. People couldn't understand how could this depot be broken into. So the Madlanga Commission then shedding a bit more light there. And then there's a picture of Fadiel Adams at the back of a police van after his arrest yesterday. Political tension rises as NCC leader Fadiel Adams is arrested outside his home. His lawyer was on the show with Elvis this morning, saying that he's still on his way from Cape Town to Durban. This is where he's going to be appearing in KZN later this morning. And he's facing fraud and obstructing justice charges. This is in relation to the Sindiso Magaga matter. What the evidence is exactly, I guess we'll have to find out when he appears. And of course, the dates then for the Phala judgment by the Constitutional Court that's been set down for Friday. So we're going to end off the week on a very, very big note as the Constitutional Court finally makes its decision in that matter. So that's what you can expect on the front pages of the national publications.
EFC is live this Thursday. Two athletes at the height of their powers fight for more than victory. They fight for the fight itself. Zakir Badat, 8 wins, all finishes. Zico Makengela, 5 wins, 5 knockouts. Champion and former champion collide in Africa's biggest welterweight championship fight. EFC 133, live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
All right, so we're in for a number of bumpy days weather-wise. Let's start with the warnings that have been issued by the South African Weather Service. There's an orange level 8 warning, disruptive rain resulting in widespread flooding of settlements, property, roads and danger to life, with some communities temporarily cut off, as well as widespread transport routes and travel services severely affected over the Kokama and Guga local municipalities of the Eastern Cape, as well as the Garden Route of the Western Cape. This will be on Wednesday into Thursday. An orange level 6 warning, disruptive rain leading to flooding of roads and settlements can be expected over the central Karoo, Kanaland municipalities of the Western Cape on Wednesday into Thursday, as well as the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, Buffalo City Metro, Dr. Bayers Nodia, Blue Crane Route, Ndlambe, Mbashe, King Sabata, Dalindyebo, Nyandeni, Port St. John's, Winnie-Madikizela Mandela, and Mbizana local municipalities of the Eastern Cape. There's an orange level 6 warning, severe thunderstorms associated with heavy downpours resulting in flooding of roads, settlements, as well as large amounts of small hail over a populated area. Those are expected over the eastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. There's a yellow level 4 warning, severe thunderstorms accompanied by strong damaging winds, hail and heavy downpours resulting in flooding of roads and settlements, as well as damage to infrastructure expected over the western and interior of KwaZulu-Natal. There's a yellow level 2 warning, severe thunderstorms accompanied by heavy downpours, strong damaging winds resulting in localized flooding of roads and settlements over Mpumalanga, central and southeastern parts of the Eastern Cape and central parts of the Western Cape. There's an orange level 5 warning, disruptive snowfall leading to path closures, communities temporarily cut off, and icy and slippery roads are expected over the northern parts of the Eastern Cape and Western Cape, as well as the southern parts of the Northern Cape. There's a yellow level 2 warning, damaging interior winds leading to damaged settlement, formal and informal, as well as disruptions to road and rail transport can be expected over the southern parts of the Northern Cape and the extreme northeastern parts of the Western Cape, as well as the central interior of KwaZulu-Natal. There's a yellow level 2 warning, disruptive snow leading to possible loss of livestock and crops, as well as traffic disruptions due to icy roads and railway lines. There's an orange level 6 warning, damaging winds and waves leading to damage to coastal infrastructure, disruption of harbors, medium-large vessels, dragging anchor breaking lines, and disruptions to beachfront activities is expected along the coast between Cape Agulhas and Cannon Rocks. And finally, there's a yellow level 4 warning, damaging winds and waves, damaging wind and waves resulting in the disruption of small harbors and ports that can be expected between Cape Point and Cape Agulhas on Wednesday and Thursday. There are no fire warnings that have been issued. The advisories: an intense cut-off law is expected to affect the western and central parts of the country on Wednesday to Thursday. The public and all small stock farmers are advised that the combination of snow, gale force winds, heavy rain, flooding, very cold conditions, and very rough seas can be expected over the Eastern Cape, southern parts of the Northern Cape, as well as central and northeastern parts of the Western Cape. Very cold, windy and wet conditions are expected over the Free State, the Northwest and the Northern Cape. These conditions will remain along the Lesotho border and southern parts of the Western Cape on Thursday. Small stock farmers are encouraged to take the necessary precautions. So those are the warnings and advisories. So let's get into your weather then. In Pretoria, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 9, maximum 16. The expected UVB sunburn index is high. In Johannesburg, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 8, maximum 14. In Vereeniging, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 9, maximum 14. And in Mbombela, partly cloudy with scattered morning showers and thunder showers, minimum 16, maximum 25. In Polokwane, partly cloudy with isolated morning showers and thunder showers, minimum 12, maximum 19. Mahikeng, cloudy, windy and isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 4, maximum 14. Vryburg, cloudy, windy and with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 1, maximum 12. Bloemfontein, cloudy, windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 6, maximum 10. Kimberley, cloudy, windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 3, maximum 10. Uppington, cloudy and windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 6, maximum 14. Cape Town, early morning fog patches, otherwise cloudy with isolated showers becoming partly cloudy from late afternoon. Wind light and variable, becoming moderate to fresh southerly to southeasterly. Minimum 12, maximum 19. The expected UVB sunburn index low. George, cloudy with widespread showers and rain. 100% rain forecast there. The wind strong to near gale force southerly to southeasterly, moderating from late afternoon. Minimum 12, maximum 16. In Gqeberha, cloudy with general showers and thunder showers. Again, 100% chance of rain with wind strong to gale force southeasterly early morning and late afternoon. Otherwise, light and variable. Minimum 14, maximum 17. In East London, cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers. Becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. The wind moderate to fresh northwesterly, becoming fresh to strong southwesterly from late morning, minimum 15, maximum 19. In Durban, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, becoming partly cloudy from late morning. The wind moderate to fresh northerly to northwesterly, becoming southerly to southwesterly in the evening. Minimum 18, maximum 26. The expected UVB sunburn index is low. In Richards Bay, it's cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. The wind moderate to fresh northerly to northwesterly, minimum 19, maximum 26. And in Pietermaritzburg, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, becoming partly cloudy from late morning, minimum 10, maximum 22.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. The Global Briefing on SAFM.
All right, let's get into the global briefing then this morning. We start in Asia, where a deepening energy crunch driven by conflict in the Middle East is forcing governments into emergency financing deals. The Asian Development Bank and Japan are stepping in. However, is this just a short-term crisis management? Well, to help us unpack all of this, political analyst and lecturer at the University of Mpumalanga, Khanya Vilakazi. Khanya, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners.
Let's talk about then this intervention. Is it still development finance?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I was asking, let's talk about this intervention in Asia and Japan. Is this still development finance, or are we seeing Japan using energy security to counter China's regional influence?
No, I think it's on a broad level. It is Japan trying to secure its own national interest of securing oil at this crisis, because I doubt that had this crisis ever crept up, that Japan would actually be working with the Asian Development Agency.
Let's move on to what is happening in Brazil. Lula da Silva is reviving a sweeping consumer debt relief program. It'll potentially reach millions just months before an election in Brazil. Economic intervention given the global state of affairs, or is it just a political timing trying to secure the vote?
Well, I think it's mainly political timing, because I think you'd realize that in South America, presidents are measured upon how the poor are able to weather the storm of the presidency. And with Lula, I think this is his attempt of reaching out to the poor, to those conservatives that are still living in abject poverty in Brazil, trying to say, hey, I'm here for you. And not only the poor, but the middle class that will then be able to have a bit of money to wiggle around during this period in time of the economic global financing.
All of this also coming ahead of what is set to be a meeting that is scheduled between Lula and the U.S. President Donald Trump. What are we anticipating out of that particular meeting? Also bearing in mind that Brazil forms part of BRICS, and we know that Donald Trump has been quite averse to some of the ideas coming out of BRICS, but still seems to be dealing with countries on an individual basis.
Well, that's true, but I think we need to always remember what happened, I think about 2 weeks back, when Lulu came to the defense of South Africa publicly, in the sense that South Africa has taken the moral high ground on certain issues against America. Now, I think it will be another blow-by-blow photo op in the White House for the Trump administration. But knowing Lulu and being the consummate statesman, I think he'll take it on the chin, and he will take it in a very presidential manner. However, I'm seeing sparks flying. Not only that, but referring back to what happened beginning of the year with the arrest and capture of Nicolas Maduro in the manner to which it happened. I think it will still bring a bit of sparks to us, the media and consumers of political science.
All right. I'm interested in the fact that you're expecting to see sparks. I wonder if it's sparks on the Ramaphosa Oval Office meeting type sparks, sparks on the Ukrainian president meeting, or much lower than that?
I think it'll be just on the cuffs of what happened to the president of Ukraine when he was in the White House, because I think what America would want to see is a president or administration that is in utter awe of the Trump administration. And I doubt Ludo is such a statesman to play on egos instead of dealing with issues that are pertaining to not only American interest, but the global interest to which Brazil is part of in BRICS.
Kanya Vilagazi, let me thank you for your time this morning. He's a lecturer in the Department of Political Science at the University of Mpumalanga. It is now just after 6:30, and Musa standing by with your latest headlines. And good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Cathy. In the headlines, residents of the Eastern Cape have been cautioned to remain on high alert and avoid travelling if necessary, as disruptive and inclement weather is likely to persist. The South African Weather Service has issued a Level 8 warning for disruptive rain for today. Mpumalanga police are investigating a case of murder following a failed cash-in-transit robbery in Bushbuck Ridge. A suspected robber was shot and subsequently run over by a cash van. And US President Donald Trump says he's pausing an operation to help ships transit the contested Strait of Hormuz. In a social media post, he indicated this was to see whether a final peace agreement with Iran could be reached. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Just a reminder of the extensive and widespread flooding across the Rebecca region this morning. A lot of rain falling overnight. Some reports suggesting about 140 mils in a very short time. It has left that situation absolutely waterlogged, and multiple routes are saying, and some of those key routes as well are underwater. You'll need to go very carefully through the region. A lot of that rain, perhaps the same system, due to move into George and Knysna region in the Southern Cape today. SA Weather Service reporting up to 150 to 200 mils likely to fall in that region. That's going to cause a bit of chaos on the roads. And just up the road, the Meyrings Port Pass linking Oudtshoorn and Beaufort West already closed due to flooding. Gauteng roads this morning, Mike 1 Boyson through to Empire's Heavy, N3 clogged up in towards Heldnace into those roadworks. And there looks to be an issue on the N14 around Jean Avenue coming out of Pretoria. Durban, the M7, the truck that jackknifed earlier this morning at Belleville Road on your way to Pinetown, that's being cleared up. And Cape Town, possible traffic light issues on the M7 Jakes Curville Drive at the R300. There's some very heavy traffic coming out of that side of Mitchell's Plain. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai Khan, welcome on this very chilly. It's freezing.
It's freezing.
On this freezing Wednesday.
We are one big goosebump.
No, literally. Disappointment for Stellenbosch last night, eh?
You were? I think, well, hello. That's not an angle I was...
No, I'm saying that there's disappointment for Stellenbosch FC. I'm disappointed on their behalf.
Oh.
I support all soccer teams, except when they're two teams that are playing against each other. Then I must pick a side.
Yep. Well, you know what? I think this one is going to be where the lines are going to be drawn. Pirates and the title race very much on board, Cathy. And just when you thought, you know what, this title race was cooling off, Pirates turning up the heat back again last night. They had a 2-0 victory over Stellenbosch FC at Athlone Stadium. Goals from Evidence Mahopa and Patrick Maswangani gave the Buccaneers their 19th win of the season, moving them within 2 points of leaders Mamelodi Sundowns with 3 matches remaining. The Soweto Giants now head into the final stretch of the campaign, firmly in contention for their first league crown since 2012. Let's hear from their coach, Abdusalam Wadu.
We started the game like we wanted, very well organized, but with the high intensity. We knew that here we need to answer to these physical duels, to the intensity, direct balls as well. It's a fantastic result. It led us in the title race. The guys were very brave. I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud to be the coach of these boys,
In another match, Siwelela FC and Durban City shared the spoils in a 2-2 Betway Premiership clash at the Dr. Petrus Molemela Stadium. The result leaving Siwelela ninth on the table with 3 games remaining ahead of a trip to champions Mamelodi Sundowns. Durban City, fresh from their Nedbank Cup triumph, stay 6th, and their next host Stellenbosch, and that's on Friday. Now, supporters hoping to watch Bafana Bafana's opening World Cup clash against Mexico will have to dig deep. Entry-level tickets starting at around 70,000 Rand and premium packages, excuse me, soaring beyond 300,000 Rand.
Wait.
And we are talking rands.
No, that's why you're choking, because those numbers are worth talking over. Repeat that again, please, I can't.
Starting entry level 70,000 Rand and premium soaring beyond 300,000 Rand. And this is because of FIFA's new dynamic pricing. So clearly we and Bafana are in demand. These costs are just based on demand and prices skyrocketing across the tournament. Despite criticism, the demand is high, with 5 million of the 7 million tickets already sold. FIFA President Gianni Infantino defending the structure, saying the World Cup is the organization's main source of revenue and funds are redistributed globally to support football development. Now, Bafana face Mexico in Group A alongside South Korea and the Czech Republic. In the meantime, Arsenal have reached the Champions League final for the first time in 20 years after Bukayo Saka's goal sealed a 1-0 win over Atletico Madrid at the Emirates Stadium. And rugby, Springbok midfielder Jan Serfontein has announced his immediate retirement from rugby after a series of injuries curtailing his career. The 33-year-old, capped 35 times for South Africa, was crowned the World Junior Player of the Year in 2012 and won bronze at the 2015 Rugby World Cup. That's your sport. We'll tackle it some more here on the National Briefing. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
Ndauleng, good morning to you. So this is an interesting one. Apple is exploring new suppliers as the chip market tightens. Does that also have anything to do with the squeezed relationship with the US and China?
You're absolutely right, Cathy. Of course, we do know that President Trump has been encouraging local manufacturing, and it seems like Apple is now engaging with talks with some of the US chip makers. According to reports by Bloomberg, it's in early stage talks with Intel, which is an American company, as well as Samsung, which is a South Korean company, to manufacture chips in the US for its devices, signaling a strategic shift away from heavy reliance on TSMC. While no deal is in place, the move is significant, highlighting growing urgency around supply chain reliance, geopolitical risk, and ongoing chip shortages that have already constrained growth, as noted by the company's CEO. For Apple, diversifying suppliers reduces dependence on a single geography and strengthens long-term production security. For Intel and Samsung, a potential partnership would validate their manufacturing capabilities and attract further clients. Ultimately, the could reshape global chip dynamics while accelerating US-based chip boost competition. Now shifting to commodities.
Darling, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to come in there. The connection to you is not great. It's simply not holding up. Let's see what we can do in the rest of the half hour. That is in Taoleng, Lichela. Apologies for interrupting that market update, but we will try and see if we can't get Taoleng up on a better line. In the meantime, though, we'll continue with the rest of our programming.
Investing shouldn't feel risky. It should give you security and good returns. Earn up to 7.25% interest per annum with an ABSA Cash Invest Tracker for an investment of 100,000 rands or more. Your capital is guaranteed with immediate access to your funds. That's minimum risk, maximum benefit. ABSA Private Banking customers can invest from just R1. Open via the ABSA Banking app, a branch, a private banker, or 0860 111 515. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Africa in Focus with Advocate Sipho Mantula on SAfm.
It's 6:40. You're listening to the National Briefing. Refreshing morning, Advocate Mantula.
Jumbo Africa is Cathy, and a refreshing morning to our listeners.
We touched on this last week. President Paul Kagame heading to Gaborone.
That is quite true. Coming from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania over this past weekend, now he's in Gaborone today. This is very important, this visit, is Cathy, because I've looked at what will be the continental impact of it. They will engage on the continental free trade in terms of how do they engage in terms of regional peace and security issues. Also, they are looking at strengthening their relations on the digital space, what you might call artificial intelligence. The second aspect is the issue of the people-to-people relation. Botswana citizens have a free 30-day visa arrival in Rwanda. Rwandese, to enter Botswana, they also have a visa free up to 90 days. Very important on that note. But this visit also come on this back foot of how Botswana has been moving towards the integration with Namibia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique. Now they are moving towards East Africa, and Kagame will be very clear in terms of pushing what they've been calling their Rwanda broadband connectivity, a smart governance system and innovation hubs that he will want to sell to Gaborone.
In South Africa, the President Cyril Ramaphosa has held bilateral talks with his Mozambican counterpart. What came out of those conversations, given some of the very big projects, of course, that are taking place between South African companies and Mozambican companies?
Indeed, Cathy, we do have a very clear relation with Mozambique, even in terms of investment. But this meeting, it is important also for two presidents to look at the tensions that are also simmering now between the African nationals who are in South Africa and how both governments have to handle it. President Ramaphosa coming out clear saying that inherently we are not against people from other nations, and that they have to hit on the question of security also of those African nationals, and urging that the demands of ordinary people of this country, they are also legitimate. I think that was very key, not to just cast away the issues around illegal immigration, but also the president have to highlight their role in terms of, as South Africa is about to chair formally the SADC in August, the relations between Mozambique and South Africa. We cannot belabor the point of the northern part of Mozambique, Cabo Delgado, in terms even of the gas exploration that is there. Because in this age of fuel crisis and all this, you still need to have alternative energies. And South Africa will want to strengthen its engagement. It was a one-day working meeting between President Ramaphosa and Daniel Chapo yesterday in Tshwane.
And then to Zambia, also one of our neighbors. What is this impasse that has taken place over the U.S. funding deal, the health funding deal?
Remember that the U.S. had what they call this U.S. aid agency. In 2024, they gave Zambia $400 million. Now, when Trump came back again, he's still pushing for this sharing of data, the issue of critical minerals. Now, Zambia has been very clear that we cannot sell our minerals because of this health funding, and hence there was this impasse and this stalled deadlock between the two countries, the issue of the data is also the issue of the right to privacy that Zambia is flagging to can say that, but we cannot share our people's information just because it's part of the health funding that the US is saying it will give them $2 billion for over 5 years. Also, the issue of their minerals. So you can see how America is playing the issue of critical minerals under the guise of investment or aid.
And then finally, Advocate Mandula, let's take a look at the 6th of May, 1975.
It's almost 51 years ago when the then apartheid government says that they will provide free education to African children. They say free and compulsory. We don't know whether that sparked what happened in 76 because that never happened because the free education was not even equal to the other white schools that they were having a subsidy more than African children. So this leads to also what we'll be covering in the coming months also on Soweto at 50. Asante sana, Sis Cathy was leading the conversation. SAFM observing the Africa Month.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray. Long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Slow on the M1 coming south through Pretoria. The roadwork still there just before the M4, the Emelafeni and Hatfield split. Not as extreme or severe as yesterday, but it is slow. Queues coming down from Montana's side. Further down, a little crash on the N14 just past Jean Avenue, although traffic seems to be moving through that scene now. And some closures again around the Henlops River due to flooding N Street and John Foster Rabi. That is all closed down, that part of Centurion. So you'll be looping around on alternative routes in some fairly heavy volumes this morning. Cedar Road in from Dainfern to Four Ways down towards Vickoppen Road. Cedar Road, very heavy backlogs this morning. Lights are out on Malabongwe and Mahogany, so some delays out that way as well. And some very heavy flooding in the Port Elizabeth, Rebecca region this morning. Multiple routes, widespread flooding, a load of rain last night. Make sure you got plenty of time to get through and get through safely. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
Well, let's get into the story now. It's 6:47. You're listening to the National Briefing. President Cyril Ramaphosa has again called for colonial-era reparations. He was speaking as South Africa marks Africa Month, and he argued that inequality across the continent is not incidental, it is historical. He says it's the product of slavery, extraction, and empire, and that meaningful redress needs to follow. While there have been some signs globally that also speak to this, the United Nations has adopted a resolution on slavery and its legacy. Ghana is preparing to host a global reparations conference, and the African Union has also kept the issue on the agenda. But is there still more rhetoric coming through politically? Professor Chita Twala is with the Department of History at the University of South Africa and joins us now. Professor Twala, good morning to you.
Good morning to your listeners and to you, Cathy Mohlahlana.
There's sort of appropriate things to say or messages that we've come to expect and anticipate at different times and points of the year. And of course, when we look at Africa, we reflect on the state of the continent. Reparations is always a conversation that comes up, but no meaningful or no clear steps on how it moves beyond rhetoric, how it becomes more meaningful?
No, thank you very much, Cathy. One would want to believe that there is justification on President Ramaphosa's call for reparations from former colonial powers to address the lasting economic damage of slavery and colonialization. But the biggest challenge that we are confronted with, as you alluded to, it is the whole question of rhetoric and political scoring, whereby people would come at a certain point in time and to try to justify the whole question of reparation. Slavery in its own course, it is a systematic dehumanization of people, and that cannot come in drips and drabs. It should be a continuous debate and argument that leaders on the African continent should engage with as long as they are still experiencing the same problem. But the challenge that we are faced with here, we should not, as African people, solve a problem by creating another problem, because the very same colonizers would not give it easy to the African people in terms of reparations. I noted that the president included investments in terms of addressing the problem of slavery and colonization, improved market access for African goods, technology transfer, and returning of artifacts. And these are the things that we need to take care of in trying to resolve the problem. But just to make another footnote remark, Cathy, it is important also to indicate that this announcement is not the first of its own kind. The former president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, was the leading voice in terms of reparations. And then he indicated that this was long overdue, long after the independence of African countries in the 1960s. He emphasized that the wealth of Europe and the USA today was built on the sweat, tears, and blood of the African people, and that of the slaves, which were forcefully taken from the African continent to build the wealth in those European countries.
One also, Professor Twala, thinks about the consistency in the messaging, right? And the role that that would play in building momentum around this conversation of reparations.
The message is clear and the momentum is there, but the problem is how does one force these European and US countries to pay reparations to the African continent. Slavery is just a complex thing. And one would also go further and look at the timing of such announcements for reparations. And people would also call and say, but why now? This thing happened a long time ago. It has been said that the European countries should pay reparations, but they've never done that up to this far. And that is a complexity nature of placing a historical blame to Europe and USA and other countries, but at the same time not getting the fruits and the delivery of what is expected of them. They are not going to give it easy, but we need, as African countries, to open up a debate, and then that debate should follow with the implementation of the resolutions that will be taken in such. In 1993, there was a first Pan-African conference on reparations, which was held in Abuja in Nigeria. And the question is, what was the end product of that? 2023, again, Ghana also hosted a conference on reparations, and whereby Ghana advocated for a global reparation fund. And that was proposed there. And then we are 3 years down the line. After 2023, nothing has transpired. Those are the things that African leaders should speak in one voice and address in attempts to get these reparations from the colonizers.
Professor Chita Twala. He's with the Department of History at the University of South Africa. I wonder for you on this conversation around reparations on the continent, what would reparations need to look like, right? In what form would the reparations need to come for it to actually be meaningful and for it to address the issue at hand, right? To acknowledge that indeed these economies, some of these global economies, have been built off the back of the African continent, and they've left the continent basically in a worse off state than it would have been, or certainly that it should have been. I'll take some of your WhatsApp voice notes on this particular issue on 0614 104 107. So let's take a look at this story now. The future of more than 1.2 million students back in question this morning. It's as the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, has been placed under administration. It's for a third time since 2018. The Higher Education Minister, Budi Manamela, pointing to a collapsed board, an audit disclaimer from the Auditor General among the many reasons why he made this move. Professor Hlengani Mathebula will be stepping in as the administrator over the next 24 months. Let me welcome onto the show Kagiso Mamabolo. He's the former NSFAS spokesperson and now CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. Kagiso, good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Look, you've seen the scenario play out before. In fact, also having been part of the institution of NSFAS, from your own view in terms of what keeps going wrong.
Thank you, Cathy. I think the appointment of successive administrators, year in, year out, reflects what can only be described as a revolving door leadership pattern. And in my view, having been at NSFAS, I think it's a very huge mistake to have amended the NSFAS Act a couple of years ago to allow ministerial intervention through administration. This function was not there before. So therefore, ministers could not directly get involved in NSFAS. So since the NSFAS Act was amended, there have been 3 administrations, and I don't think that is how you improve a dysfunctional public entity, by increasing the scope of administration. So we have seen it when it happened the first time under Dr. Karalison. I was still at NSFAS. It did not leave the institution in a good state. Employees were purged, stakeholders were confused, students were never paid, but commitments and promises were made year in, year out. So I think there could have been other ways to improve NSFAS rather than putting it into administration for the third time. And more so, in my view, that we have seen that administration, the last 2 administrations, did not deliver much results, and people who put NSFAS to its knees were never held accountable. They've just disappeared into thin air.
The question, of course, that will be on many people's minds will be how this is going to affect the delivery of NSFAS for its students, for its service providers. And we know that transition periods often do have an impact on the running and the functioning of the institution. What are you anticipating this time around?
We have met as accommodation providers across the country. For accommodation providers, the consequences of this instability are both immediate and severe. Each new leadership structure at NSFAS for us has historically introduced renewed commitments to reform and operational improvements. Accommodation providers have said to us yesterday that 2 things are going to happen. One, it's either the landlords are going to go on the streets and also try to show their dissatisfaction to this government, all services are going to be reduced and students ultimately are going to pay the price. And pay the price in two ways. One, they will find themselves in cheap, less quality accommodation, and also they are going to pay the difference for NSFAS not being able to fulfill its promises. We are still owed the money of 2024. Mr. Nomvalo left as administrator, and this board that got dissolved promised to settle that amount. They never paid. And now they've left office. And now the minister himself has not even bothered to engage with the accommodation providers, at least to assure us of what rent is going to be for this year. So this year, Cathy, we have students in our residences, but we are being paid the rate of last year. I don't think it's fair for student accommodation. No one stays in a place where they are renting and the rent never increase with escalation. It's actually NSFAS abusing landlords and using landlords to balance its books.
Kagisho Mamabolo will leave it there, former NSFAS spokesperson and now the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. And that's the problem, right? Lack of continuity within the institution and the implication that has for all the stakeholders that have to deal with NSFAS. It's time for your 7 o'clock news, and Musa is standing by.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, disruptive rains batter various parts of the country and Mpumalanga police probe failed cash-in-transit robbery. Good morning. Heavy rain and winds are bashing the Garden Route and Little Karoo region of the Western Cape after the Level 8 weather warning storm made landfall late last night. Municipalities across the region are on high alert for flooding. Segri Chiti reports.
Authorities say the Maringspoort Pass, which links Oudtshoorn to Beaufort West, has been closed due to flooding. An alternative route is the N9 via Uniondale. It's predicted that between 100 and 200 millimeters of rain will fall in the area today. While the rain is welcomed in this water-scarce area, it could also come at a cost for those whose homes are in danger from flooding. For the past few days, municipal workers have been clearing stormwater drains and helping residents fill sandbags in anticipation of the rain. The Western Cape Department of Education has also closed schools in George, Knysna and Oudtshoorn until Thursday.
In the Eastern Cape, residents have been cautioned to remain on high alert and avoid travelling if necessary, as disruptive and inclement weather is likely to persist. The South African Weather Service has issued a Level 8 warning of disruptive rain for today. Eastern Cape weather forecaster Ayabonga Chungwana says disruptive rain leading to flooding of settlements, roads and low-lying areas is expected in some areas.
In areas like Nelson Mandela Bay and Kokama, South African Weather Service has issued a orange level 8 for those areas, and also some areas like Apetin, Khafreni, I think in Sarapatman District Municipality, they have level 6, orange level 6. These precipitation are accompanied by strong winds, so we also issued orange level 6 a warning for wind and waves, which will be affecting the coastal areas.
In other news, Mpumalanga police are investigating a case of murder following a failed cash-in-transit robbery in Bushbuck Ridge. A suspected robber was shot and subsequently run over by a cash van. It's alleged that the deceased attacked the driver of the cash vehicle with a sharp object before he was killed. Mpumalanga police spokesperson Brigadier Donald Mhluli says they are also investigating a case of attempted robbery.
It is alleged that a male armed with a sharp object opened the passenger door and attacked the security officer who was sitting at the driver's seat, and he also sustained some injuries. It is further reported that while it was happening, some security officers at that place became aware of what was happening, and they reportedly fired shots at the alleged attacker who fell on the ground. It is further alleged that the driver of the cash-in transit vehicle subsequently drove over the man, who was later certified dead.
Motorists queued until midnight at petrol stations across the country to fill up ahead of the steep fuel price that takes effect today. The petrol price is up by R3.27 per litre, while diesel increased by R5.27 per litre. Motorists in Durban say they are struggling to keep up with the continuous hikes.
So to fill my vehicle is 2,800 rand. With the new price increase, it must probably go to 3,000 rand. I think it's ridiculous.
It's quite bad, especially when it comes to the financial issues that we're facing currently. From what we are earning as the employees in South Africa, it's quite going to go heavy on our pockets.
It's absolutely ridiculous and frustrating. We cannot cope as normal consumers to actually pay for these fuel increases.
We're not happy about the diesel prices at all.
Yeah, the fuel price is ridiculous high. With the next increase, it's making the living a bit stiffer,
And finally, US President Donald Trump says he's pausing an operation to help ships transit the contested Strait of Hormuz. In a social media post, he indicated that this was to see whether a final peace agreement with Iran could be reached. Trump said great progress had been made on that front, but gave no details. He also indicated that the US blockade of Iranian ports would continue. The BBC's Sarah Smith has the details.
The US urgently wants to get international shipping moving through the Strait of Hormuz. The economic damage is being felt around the world, so America needs to fix this problem caused by its attack on Iran 2 months ago. The military has launched Project Freedom to try to reopen the waterway, and they claim Iran is no longer in control of the strait. But only 2 tankers made it through that way yesterday. It was 130 a day before the war.
Recapping the top story, heavy rain and winds are bashing the Garden Route and Little Karoo region of the Western Cape after the level 8 weather warning storm made landfall late last night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
OUTsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
If your medical aid was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to OUTsurance saved 27-year-old Liam an awesome 640 Rand on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. A licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's, and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, soccer action, Stellenbosch FC under pressure after Orlando Pirates defeat. But Coach Gavin Hunt says the race for the top 8 is far from over. And our sports minister, Gator McKenzie, unveils the 16 fan winners heading to the FIFA World Cup. All the details around 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Delays again on Pretoria's N1 South. This is the run from Montana down towards the N4, the Emma-Leflani split. It's the roadworks that are there overnight. They overrun into the morning peak, so traffic backlogging already from Sefaka Makato. N1 South slow between Old Joburg and New Road area this morning. And the N3, once you get out of the Messer Germiston, you're into some more queues between Galulis and Modderfontein Road. Crossing the Durban, very heavy around the Phoenix area this morning, particularly Phoenix Highway out towards Trade Centre. JG Champion in the R102 out of Palmview or down from Ottawa. That is quite a heavy backlog going on there as well. And the M7 into Pinetown. St John's Avenue Bridge looking quite slow as well. Cape Town, no traffic lights on the M7 at Hayterveld. That's between Bangate Mall and the N2. That's likely to be slow. M5 from the Kenilworth area, already very busy and jam-packed all the way through to Kuba. Get a change. Heavy flooding, multiple routes across Quebec this morning, and we're just seeing some first flooding scenes coming in from Knysna in the Southern Cape. There's some very heavy rain expected. George, Knysna and surrounds today. Take it easy, please. Looks like going to be a rough one. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 9 after 7 o'clock. A warm welcome to you. This is the National Briefing, bringing you clarity, context, and conversation as you step into your day. In this hour, we'll go straight into the fuel price hike and the embarrassing decimal point error that almost added another rand to your diesel. Wholesale diesel now above the 30 rand a litre mark. It's the first time in the country's history that it has reached these levels. Then the SIU's bombshell findings on home affairs. Religious figures including Shepherd Bushiri and Timothy Omotoso named in a well-orchestrated syndicate that allegedly sold visas. Some of those applications, the SIU says, were processed via WhatsApp, and the bribes, some of them were as low as 500 rand. We'll be unpacking that in the next hour of the show. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with us. The studio line 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Do you ever call you like to sell? But don't trust your uncle or your pal. Then we buy cars is just for you. Buying cars is what we do. We offer service with a smile. We always go the extra mile. Use a place that you trust and sell your car to us.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
The starting whistle for FlySafair's 12th birthday bash is about to blow. At 9 a.m. today, 50,000 sale tickets will be up for grabs for domestic travel until the 30th of November 2026. But this year, thanks to high fuel prices, it will work a bit differently. Base fares will be as low as 12 Rand, but fuel surcharges and taxes apply on top of that. It's still the best flight bargain around, so don't miss out. Dash to flysafair.co.za at 9 a.m. T's and C's apply.
The National Briefing on SAFM, Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
All right, it's 13 after 7 o'clock. Let's get into one of our big stories then for today. We, of course, as motorists, are paying more at the pumps. Petrol, both 93 and 95, climb up by 3 Rand 27 cents a litre. Diesel rises by 5 Rand 27 cents a litre, and it's pushing the wholesale diesel price above 30 Rand a litre, which is the first for the country. However, there has been an announcement made by government. The original announcement on Monday was for a 6 Rand 19 cent increase on diesel. Yesterday, the Department of Minerals and Petroleum Resources admitting that there was a decimal point error. A 93-cent fuel levy reduction had been entered as 0.3 cents. And it's a mistake in the calculation that would have seen us pay more for diesel than what we should have. Robert Mage is the Director of Fuel Pricing Mechanism at the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. He joins us now. Robert, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Firstly, let's talk about the error, right? When one looks at it, you can think, well, these are the kind of mistakes that people make working with numbers. It can happen. But the fact that it's coming from a national department, it does seem that it is a sloppy mistake to have happened. Hello, Robert. Mr. Mage, can you hear me? All right. Robert, we can hear you. You're live. You're live on the radio. You're live on the radio.
Morning, Cathy, and good morning to the listeners.
Yes.
Indeed, the mistake is very much regrettable. Instead of having 93 cents reduction on the diesel, we had 0.93, and this was picked up after we had already released the announcement. Remember that our pricing formula is transparent, so industry players and everybody else can also double check on the calculations that we've done as the department when we released the numbers. So it was picked up, and we indeed went back to the calculation and corrected the mistake. Hence, the diesel now will increase by 5 Rand 27 cents.
Who picked up on this error? Was it internally, or did you pick it up because there were people externally that questioned the figure?
Look, externally, we thought everything was right because the publication was made through the department that the prices will go up that way. But our industry associations, as they went through the numbers, they picked up that on the diesel reduction, we had 0.93 instead of the 93.
This, of course, speaks to internal controls within the department. What is the process? Surely some form of peer-to-peer review would have been able to catch a mistake like this.
Yeah, I think we will look at the internal controls. We'll make sure that they're tight. I mean, the prices are audited, so we'll also talk to the external auditors who check the prices where they could not pick up such an error. But yeah, it's a human error that happened, which is regrettable. But ideally, the pricing auditors should have also picked it up before they issued an audit report.
So effectively, this error passed several hands before it could make its way into the public, is what you're saying. So there's several then tiers that failed here.
Yeah, well, as I'm saying to you, Cathy, we have the external auditors who also check the prices before we actually write our submission for approval by our principal. So once we receive that report, we take it that the auditors have checked the numbers as well. But yeah, you are quite correct that we all miss the error, and it happens once in a while, which is very regrettable.
Let's talk then about what this means for the affecting of the fuel price, because that correction came in late yesterday. As far as you know, what implication is it going to have for motorists who would have started paying a higher price for product overnight?
No. I think the industry, we were in discussion with the industry throughout the day. So the prices only got implemented at midnight yesterday, as you are aware. So I don't expect that there should be any motorists who pay the higher price.
Let's talk about the price of diesel that has now breached the 30 Rand a litre mark. The knock-on effect of this is going to be tremendous, whether for food prices, for freight, for taxi fares, for agriculture. This is an incredible red flag for the country. Yes, there's been the cushioning of the fuel levy, but is there more? Is there more that government can be doing here?
Look, I cannot really talk about government as a whole because I'm from one department. I know that through the National Treasury and other government departments, they are talking of other interventions that they could be implemented to push in the citizens of South Africa. Unfortunately, I'm not part of those discussions, but I know that there are a lot of discussions going on around that.
Robert Mage, we'll leave it there. He is with the Department of Minerals and Petroleum Resources. Let me bring into this conversation Annelien van der Poel, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Debt Rescue. Annelien, many people are complaining about the fact that they no longer have any more belt left to tighten, given just the escalating costs that we are seeing. What are the numbers telling us about the state of households financially in this country?
Good morning, and good morning to the listeners. Indeed, we have now, I think, really reached a tipping point where it's going to be very difficult to come back from. What we're seeing on the ground, dealing with consumers who are struggling with the effect of, for example, the fuel price is one of the many factors that's influencing their budgets, is that they've cut back, they've made the changes, they've done what they possibly could, they've changed habits, they've changed budgets, etc. But realistically, they just don't have the funds to deal with this continuously and not in small amounts, but significant changes. And of course, we know that the fuel prices has a direct impact on our budget, and the fact that it affects our transport costs, etc. But we know also that there's the indirect effect, and we're waiting for that to start trickling through more and more now in the coming weeks and months as the cost of goods starts increasing, because everything is transported by road. And of course, diesel has been the one fuel that has gone up by the most. So it's definitely very, very concerning and definitely already having a massive impact.
How are we seeing consumers try to make up for this, Annelien? Because I imagine that some of that maneuvering will also be found in how you see consumers try to manage their debt.
So what we obviously are seeing and hearing, through research that we're doing, is that consumers are, when it comes to fuel, for example, trying to plan a lot more carefully. They're not driving unnecessarily. And here we would recommend things like, if you're going shopping, try and do it once a week or once every 2 weeks if you're able to. So really thinking about before we start the engine of our vehicles or, make use of some form of transport, that we try and optimize that traveling. We're hearing of people that are starting to do more carpooling, driving with other people to get to work, sharing the cost of the transport, etc. So there's a lot of things that people are trying to do, but they're cutting back as much as they can. The sad reality is it's not possible for absolutely everybody to do that, and many of them don't have that ability to cut back any further. We've got winter starting. We know the electricity price just went up. We tend to use more electricity during winter as well. And of course, a lot of people are still very reliant on paraffin as one of their heating mechanism and cooking mechanisms. And that's also gone up exponentially over the last 2-3 months. So a lot of burden being placed on consumers.
Are we seeing consumers take on more debt to try and fill the gaps?
Unfortunately, yes, we are. Consumers are obviously still trying to see if this is a short term and that hopefully that things will turn and become better. but we're seeing so many consumers who are making use of the credit facilities that are still available to them, or possibly taking shorter-term loans just to try and make it through the month. Because for many, and this has been going on for quite some time already, is that a couple of days after payday, there is no money left because the debit orders have gone off, the most important bills have been paid, and now we still have to make it through the rest of the month to pay for the transport, to pay for the electricity, to buy food. And we are seeing more and more that consumers are actually turning to credit to have to put food on the table, not because they have any other choice, but that is the necessity that they're facing.
Anneline van der Poel, thank you so much for your time. She's the COO at Debt Rescue, and that giving us a perspective into what is happening with households.
The East London IDZ, an entity of the Eastern Cape Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism, presents the Eastern Cape Digital Economy Summit 2026, taking place from the 7th to the 8th of May at IDZ Conference Center, bringing together leaders, investors, innovators, and technology partners to shape the province's digital future. Investors ready to tap into the digital growth? Your next opportunity starts here. East London IDZ, business streamlined.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Well, let's get into this story now. The Special Investigating Unit uncovering what it calls a well-orchestrated syndicate inside the Department of Home Affairs. A 20-year window of corruption, the SIU says, in which immigration permits were bought, sold and laundered. The numbers are absolutely jaw-dropping. Selby Mahoto is the spokesperson for the SIU. Joins us on the line this morning. Advocate Mahoto, good morning to you. Look, you've described this as a marketplace, visas sold to the highest bidder, effectively. Describe it for our listeners. How widespread is this problem if you're looking at just over 100 people that you say were well involved in the scheme?
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Good morning to the listeners. Thank you for having us on your show. What we found is that indeed this is quite a serious scheme that has been operating for quite a number of years. Unfortunately, it was allowed to go in without any immediate consequence management. And when the Special Investigating Unit was ultimately made aware of this scheme by the department's anti-corruption unit, we went in. You will recall that sometimes the SIU and the Home Affairs had held a search and seizure operations in various Home Affairs departments across the country. And that was aimed at the primary target was the applications for visas, for passports, because that is what was told, that there was a problem there. And fast forward, we are able to confirm that indeed the processes were irregular, the application criteria was compromised, and the corruption that took place in that space was too much, and the money that went out of the pockets of people to the state ought to be recovered. That is where we are now. The report is actually almost at an advanced stage, and on the 30th of September, that is where we will be having the final report.
You've named the likes of Shepherd Bushiri and the televangelist Timothy Omotosho as being part of the scheme. Both these men are now out of the country. How do you pursue civil recovery or even criminal prosecution where they're concerned?
We are paying very careful attention and following with keen interest, because we are aware that there are extradition proceedings relating to the two, and which are also at an advanced stage. But also that does not reduce by an inch the mandate of the SIU, because in terms of our mandate, our jurisdiction, we are able to stretch our arms to other jurisdictions through various collaborations with the other law enforcement agencies, that where the money perhaps could have gone beyond the borders of the country, such mechanisms are accessible and exposed to us to follow the money. So in the main, the various activities took place in the country, and hence our civil recovery proceedings, our referrals to the NPA, our referrals to the department, and the 111 or so that have been recommended for deportation. Those are actually in the immediate.
How do you deal now with the legitimacy of the visas that were issued, particularly for the officials within Home Affairs that were part of the scheme processing it? One assumes that it wasn't every matter that came before them that was fraudulent, or have you found that perhaps to be the case?
Well, the department had actually said to us that they have a very good, detailed, and rather comprehensive turnaround time. This syndicate, this colludation by the department had actually been an eye-opener to the department, given the scourge in which it was taking place. So the department has told the Special Investigating Unit that they have to introduce a turnaround time to ensure that there's an audit of what actually has been taking place, what did not take place, who played what role, but more importantly to us, how did they end up losing the money? Hence, the disciplinary proceedings are underway, and as a result of this, the SIU will be able to second some of the investigators to be a part of this disciplinary hearing, so that the evidence can be beefed up and they can be heard in the final testimonies.
Any indication of how many people this would have affected? So how many people would have received fraudulent visas, study visas? Just how widespread and how deep would this problem go?
Yeah, that is a very big challenge, considering that not only one category of the profession was targeted, it was a spread out approach. Tertiary institutions, pastors, churches, university institutions, tourism industry, for example. There were quite a number of sectors, industries that were victims of this scheme or syndicates. So what we did as per the mandate, having gone through the money's recovery process, coming to 180 million rand, when we went back, we found that this has been happening for almost 10, 20 years back, where there were procedural compliance, non-adherence, all these difficulties. So we are at a point where we are in the process of instituting civil recovery proceedings, where we are convinced, we are sure that the funds have disappeared, and where there's need for referrals to the NPA that has taken place, and also this deportation recommendations are being executed, they are being implemented.
Selby Makgato, spokesperson for the SIU. I wonder, what do you want to see happen now, given this state of affairs? And Musa, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Cathy. In the headlines, one person has died and 3 others injured after a tree fell on several shacks at the Makhaus informal settlement in Ekurhuleni. The Western Cape government has urged residents in the Garden Route and Little Karoo regions to exercise caution and stay safe. The area is experiencing torrential rains and gale force winds. The level 8 storm surge made landfall last night. And Spain says it will let a cruise ship at the center of a deadly outbreak of hantavirus travel to the Canary Island. The ship is currently anchored off Cape Verde. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Pretoria's N1 South again heavy from Montana down towards the N4. That's the Mlahleni and Hatfield split. That's due to the overnight roadworks, which are still very much in place again today. Gauteng traffic, or Joburg highways at least. Bit of a queue coming in the N12 and R24 is to Galilee's N3 North, Elands up towards Van Buren in through that lane restriction section through Heldenace remains busy. A lot of traffic on Durban's N2, queues from the M7 through Spaghetti Junction, Westwood Mall area, and then a breakdown before Gateway, and that's a really big queue that's built up from as far back as Queen Nundy Drive. M7 from Huntstepman getting into Pinetown, very slow as well today. Cape Town, a lot of pressure on the N1, queuing up from Platte Cliff Hill right through to the city centre. M5 is busy from Southfield Parkwood right through to Coburg Interchange, and a crash on your way out of town just before Broadway Boulevard, and that's causing a delay heading into Somerset West from Macassar. Heavy flooding now in the Knysna area, and overnight rains causing multiple flooded routes through the Rebecca region. Take it easy in those areas. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
All right, Zai Khan, good morning. Stellenbosch coach Gavin Hunt, he still believes a top 8 finish is within reach.
The hunt is on, Cathy. The fight is not over. Yes, that's classic Gavin.
You play on words,
Ooh,
eh?
Yeah, you know what? This
love
man,
it.
he loves the maths, and I think he's got the calculator out, and he knows that, you know what, they're very much in it to win it, even though Stellenbosch, they were defeated 2-0 to Orlando Pirates at Athlone Stadium last night. The result leaving Stelly sitting 10th on the Betway Premiership table, just 3 matches remaining this season. Despite the setback, Coach Hunt insists the mission is still clear: win the remaining games and fight until the very end for a place in the top bracket.
Yeah, I think we need 9 points. I think we're going to have to win 3 games now. You know, I thought we should have won last week, and I thought we could get a point tonight, and then, you know, we could go from there. But I think we're going to have to win 3 games, Mark, you know.
On to Orbit College now, who boosted their Betway Premiership survival hopes with a 2-1 victory over Magesi in a rain-interrupted clash at the Seshego Stadium last night. The result lifts Orbit up to 14th on the table on 23 points, while Magesi drop into deeper relegation trouble in 15th place with 21 points. Meanwhile, Siwelele and Durban City played a 2-all draw, while Chippa United's clash against Sekhukhune United postponed, and that was due to a waterlogged pitch. Now, South Africa Sports Minister Gator McKenzie has announced the 16 winners of the Mzansi to the World Cup competition, with one supporter from each PSL club earning a fully sponsored trip to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The lucky fan will travel to support Bafana Bafana in their opening Group A clash against host Mexico on the 11th of June. The package includes flights, accommodation, meals and match tickets. Additional wildcard winners are also expected to be announced. Last night we also saw Arsenal reaching the Champions League for the first time in 20 years after Bukayo Saka's goal sealed a 1-0 win over Atletico Madrid at the Emirates Stadium. The decisive strike just before halftime completed a 2-1 aggregate victory, sending the Gunners to Budapest on the 30th of May, where they will face either Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain. Here's Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta.
I cannot be happier, prouder for everybody that is involved in this football club. The manner that we got received outside the stadium already was special and unique. The atmosphere our supporters created, the energy, the way they lifted every ball with us, it made it special and unique. I never felt that in the stadium. And we knew how much it meant to everybody. We put everything. The boys did an incredible job. And after 20 years and for the second time in our history, we are back in the Champions League final.
And finally, golf. The world number 7, Minjee Lee, has joined a growing list of lady PGA stars committed to the new Women's Tech-Infused Golf League launched by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. Lee is joined by 6-time tour winners Celine Boutier and Daniel Kang, Andrea Lee, Megan Kang and 3-time Olympian Albane Venezuela. That's your sport. We'll swing back with more at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAfm.
It's 7:38. You're listening to the National Briefing in Taoleng. Aspen has secured regulatory approval for human insulin rollout. Tell us more about this.
Good morning, Cathy. Now, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority has given Aspen the thumbs up to release its first commercially manufactured human insulin produced locally in partnership with European company Novo Nordisk, which is known for making GLP-1 drug Ozempic. Now, the insulin is being manufactured at Aspen's Gqeberha facility, marking the start of full commercialization under the agreement. The development is significant for Africa's healthcare resilience, reducing reliance on imported insulin, improving supply security, and potentially lowering costs for patients managing diabetes. It also strengthens Aspen's position as a regional pharmaceutical manufacturing hub while advancing South Africa's broader industrial and pharmaceutical capabilities. Ultimately, the move supports long-term goals around medicine access, local production capacity, and health security across the continent. Now, moving over to the automotive sector, South Africans continue to flock to new car showrooms in April, extending a long-running growth streak despite fuel price pressures and broader economic uncertainty. Now, new vehicle sales rose 13% to close to 48,000 units being sold, marking the strongest April performance since 2013, according to NAMSA. Now, passenger cars led the gains at 34,414 units, up 14.3%, while light commercial vehicles rose 9.7%, and medium commercial vehicles increased 10.5%. Now, NAMSA said the momentum was supported by improved financing conditions and firmer sentiment, but warned that higher fuel costs, inflation, the weaker credit outlook could weigh on demand in the months ahead. Looking at markets, sentiment improved after easing the political tensions helped stabilize risk appetite, supporting gains across equities and emerging markets. Softer oil prices added further relief, helping to underpin expectations for a more constructive trading session. The JSE closed the previous session slightly firmer, with analysts expecting a positive start as global markets remain in the green. The rand also holding steady this morning, trading at 16.52 to the dollar, 22.44 against the pound, and 19.38 versus the euro, reflecting improved sentiment and a softer dollar backdrop. Overall, the turn across markets shifted cautiously upbeat, supported by easing conditions, lower energy prices, and improved risk appetite. Now, that's a wrap of your market brief. Catch you tomorrow morning. I'm Ntaweng Chela.
Spar Winner Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products like 500 gram Clover Bacho Butter Spread for $79.99, save 15 Rand, or 850 gram Parmalat pre-packed cheese, including 800 gram President Mature cheese for $129.99, save 20 Rand. Price is valid from 22 April till 10 May. Shop, swipe, and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
You can become a victim of a legal problem, wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
If your network provider was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to OUTsurance saved 30-year-old Dineo an unbelievable 1,094 Rand on her 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Reality check on the National Briefing.
Well, let's get into our reality check for this morning. It's 7:43. Professor Tshepo Madlingozi is our contributor this week. He's an adjunct professor at the Nelson Mandela University, extraordinary professor at Stellenbosch University, and he's been talking us through the national question and going to the heart of conversations. He believes that if we are unable to solve, we will not be able to build a true nation as South Africa. But what are the things that fracture our nationhood? What is bubbling under is a part of what Professor Madlingozi has been pointing us to. Good morning again, Prof. And in fact, you want to continue to build on the foundation that you've laid in the last 2 days, but this time you want to bring in the Constitution, its role and its limits in helping to resolve the national question.
Good morning, Cathy and the listeners. So yes, yesterday we looked at the two critical components of resolving the national question, which are reparations and reconciliation. We said that reparations and reconciliation must be seen as two sides of the coin, in a sense that there is no reconciliation without redress and reparation, that there can never be sustainable reconciliation without both acknowledgement of the harm as well as concrete measures to heal the intergenerational harm. And in that way, we were clear that, reparations and reconciliation are conditions of possibility for moving forward into a future built on truth, justice, healing, and the absence of shame and perpetual victimhood. By perpetual victimhood here, I mean the stance of the historically colonized to deprive themselves of agency to co-create a society. But on the other hand, by perpetual victimhood, I mean the stance by elites to use the past to extract concessions from white business, for example, or as an excuse to distract us from their own governance failures and mismanagement. The point here is that resolving the national question and undertaking a genuine nation-building project are impossible without truthfully reckoning with the past. That's why, Cathy, we've got this Kampepe Commission into allegations of interference in TRC cases. That commission is so critical because it asks a very critical question. Did the post-apartheid state interfere in the work of the NPA into prosecuting apartheid killers? It's very serious allegations. Cathy and the listeners, the failure to prosecute apartheid killers is what I consider one of two original sins of the post-apartheid era. The other original sin, of course, being the arms deal, because the failure to prosecute these apartheid killers perpetuated a culture of impunity that we are seeing today. So nation building cannot be built on those rotten foundations. This is where the Constitution becomes important, because the Constitution seeks to build a solid foundation. So when we look at the Constitution, the starting point, of course, is the preamble. The preamble is very clear that we, the people of South Africa, believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. Furthermore, it says we adopt this Constitution to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental rights. So if you understand it that way, the Constitution A resolves the national question by laying the foundation, and then B, a framework for a united egalitarian society. It does so by putting social justice and equality at its center. So the reality check this morning, Cathy, is to understand the Constitution as a political instrument. Is politics unapologetically transformative? That's why it's been called a transformative constitutionalism. It seeks to use the law to transform society from a legacy of racism and inequality to one based on freedom. In fact, in my language, we say the Constitution is molao teo. It's a foundational law. It seeks to found a new society. However, of course, there are certain limitations and obstacles to this transformative constitutionalism. The one limitation, of course, is an obvious one, which is that the Constitution itself, it's a product of political compromise. And therefore, it can never be revolutionary. It can never be decolonizing instrument. You see that in the fact that the Constitution, if you look at it from A to Z, the word apartheid is not there. The word colonialism is missing. The word reparations is missing. So those are the limitations of the Constitution as a transformative decolonizing instrument. But as I close, some of the obstacles that we should be very much concerned with as we look at the ability of the Constitution to transform society are four obstacles that I want to highlight. The first one is constitutional literacy. You know, studies show that there is no deep awareness of both the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Just over 46% of the population know exactly what is a Bill of Rights and some of the rights in the Constitution. So constitutional literacy is the first obstacle. The second one is access to justice. You might know about your rights. You can possess constitutional literacy, but procuring the services of lawyers continue to be expensive. So access to justice is the second obstacle. The third one, Cathy, is what I call political lawfare. Lawfare, the use of courts for political battles in two ways. One, powerful actors using courts to silence activists. You know, activists who talk about corruption, activists who talk about gender-based violence, environmental justice, and as well as journalists, you know, gagging journalists, the use of courts for political battles, but also political actors using courts to fight their political battles. You know, political parties going to court for political conferences that did not go their way. That denotes the legitimacy of courts as instruments and arbiters of transformative constitutionalism. The last obstacle, of course, is state dysfunctionality. You might know your rights, you might be able to go to a lawyer, you might even win in court, but implementation of court decisions continues to be a problem because of state dysfunctionality. Municipalities that are always corrupting. You've won a court, but the municipalities are unable to implement the court decision, or there's no capacity, or there's corruption. So those four obstacles are the obstacles that we should be concerned with. And as we look towards using the Constitution to transform society, we should look at ways to overcome those obstacles.
Sure, Prof. I mean, it's been a mouthful that you have given us this morning. Certainly a lot to reflect on. But before you go, there are many that have been asking the question around why the conversation are in terms of why the countries in the state that it's in always goes back to a pre-democratic era. Very briefly, why do you think that keeps being the case, that even 32 years into democracy, we're still talking about the TRC, we're still talking about the sort of unfinished business of the past?
The colonialism in South Africa lasted for more than 350 years. Colonialism meant dispossession, it meant genocide, it meant entrenchment of both benefits and disadvantages. Those are intergenerational, those are entrenched in our society. And therefore, on the one hand, we should be very clear that we are having this conversation so that we are able to face this legacy so that we can change it. If we don't do that, we'll continue to talk about problems at a very surface level, focusing on personalities, focusing on institutions, not focusing on the real cause of some of these situations. And some of those causes go back to the past. But as we always say, the past should not be an excuse for present leaders to do the right thing.
Thank you so much for your time and your contribution, Professor Tsepo Madlingozi. Okay, Rob Byrne, good morning.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning indeed. Heavy traffic around Pretoria. Now we've been detailing the overnight roadworks that overrun into the morning rush hour. N1 south at the N4 Emily split. Traffic very heavy again now coming through from Montana. Also going the other way, the N1 north, a collision at Garsfontein. So really big backlogs from the R21 up through Rigel and up towards that scene. Also off the highways, a collision on Solomon Mslangut at Olympus Drive, and that's quite heavy. That's a really busy route. So all of that traffic being quite badly held up. If you're coming out of Midrand on Olifantsfontein Road, a crash near Lever Road causing quite a backlog down to the highway, and Cedar Road this morning from Broadacres Dainfern all the way down to Vickoppen Road and out towards Dainfern. Very heavy there. A couple of lights down on Malabongwe at North Riding causing some annoying delays as well. N3 queuing effectively from Elands right through Galulis up to the Modderfontein Road exit. Durban, Pietermaritzburg checks fine this morning. No problems along the N3. The N2 going north is a bit of an issue though. A breakdown as you make your way up towards Gateway. In fact, there are two breakdowns, one before Spaghetti Junction, so that's a queue from the M7, and then you sort of into the roadworks, and then from sort of Queen Nandi up through Kumashi all the way to Gateway, it's just solid with that vehicle stuck just before that Gateway off-ramp. Cape Town this morning, collision on the N7 between Langa and Epping, causing some additional delays on top of the roadworks. Danafontein coming out of Manenberg, crash at the N2, that's quite heavy. Inland at Meyring's Port, the N12, Beaufort West Oudtshoorn closed due to flooding. Significant flooding around Knysna, likely to get worse today. Some big rains expected in that Knysna George area, and plenty of flooding disruption, I guess is best to say, around Rebecca after big rains last night. Take it easy in that area. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Did you know the moonwalk was first performed in slippers? Now, we can't prove this fuzzy fact, but we can promise that when you show support for Slipper Day, you help fulfill dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses. And that's a fact. Do it for the dreamers and wear your slippers on Friday, 29 May. Visit reachforadream.org.za to find out more. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hi, Cathy. Yeah, this is Pume from Centurion. Cathy, I don't know where Africans get this thing that one day there will be reparation pays to them. The code of war back in the days, the victor always get to keep the spoils of war. It has always been like that historically. And if you want to go back in terms of reparations, where do you start? Because the history of oppressing one against another didn't start with colonization. Even nations themselves were oppressing each other, the rich versus the poor. So this whole idea that we cling on to that one day we will be paid, it's not going to work. Thank you.
What is important, it is also to go after all the individual foreigners who benefited from this fraud and corruption. Anyone who got their documents fraudulently, some of them are in academia and in high-paying jobs, deport them, freeze the money that they earn as proceeds of crime, and send them away.
Good morning, Cathy, and your listeners. Cathy, we have even millions ID books for people that were given the ID books for South Africa that are non-South Africans. You can see when it's holiday time, they all go back to their countries. They have a dual citizenship. They are citizen in their country in South Africa. Also, they are South African citizen, Lucy in Gauteng.
Call SAFM now on 086 000 2032.
Yeah, thank you for those voice notes that you've been sending through. This syndicate, this Home Affairs syndicate, and just the ramifications of what would have happened in the last 20 years that it has been operating. It's just, it's unthinkable to the extent to which this has caused even some of the problems that we are sitting with and grappling with as a society today. Maxwell, you are out in Pretoria. Good morning.
And thanks for having me. Let me, before I go to the other matter of Bushbuckridge, made my 1 cent worth of that situation. As much as we can blame foreigners, we need to look at ourselves as well, the role that we are playing. Those people who are at home affairs are not foreigners. They are local people who happen to collide because of greed at the end of the day and do the corruption that they have done with the illegal immigrant that are here. But my point of the call, Casey, it's about what I've witnessed in Bushbuckridge yesterday before I came to Pretoria later on the day. It was a very, very horrible situation, Casey, where this guy who was lying down first attacked the driver of that van. He stabbed that guy with a sharp object. It was very chaotic. Then after that, what I didn't understand, maybe it was the anger from that guy who was driving. He went to him twice and ran over him there. I don't know if the investigation will be included in that situation, because I can understand what happened, but to take the law into your own hands the way he did it, it's a debatable question at the moment. That means two wrongs doesn't make a right. So that's the situation that we witnessed in that small complex in Bushbuckridge yesterday morning, Casey. It was very horrible.
Maxwell, it sounds quite traumatic as well, hey?
No, it was it was unbelievable. Even the people, when he was going there, all of us were screaming in that situation. It was a catch-22 situation where you don't know if that guy is right or wrong, but looking at the crime that is being committed with the CTI as well, you can understand the other guy's situation, but at the end of the day, he broke the law, but what he has done, because for me, he was finishing that guy while he was still lying there. So let the law take its course. But I think it will be a warning to those who are still planning to do the whole thing. But I don't think this time they will come with knives or something. It will be worse than what we have witnessed yesterday, Casey.
Okay, Maxwell out in Pretoria. Tabsen Bulukwane, I also wanted to take you on the SIU. Let me say we'll take you in the next hour because it is 8 o'clock now and I have to go to the latest news update. And Musa, good morning.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
In our top stories, a tragic tree collapse incident in Ekurhuleni and disruptive rains batter various parts of the country. Good morning. One person has died and 3 others have been injured after a tree fell on several shacks at the Makause informal settlement in Ekurhuleni. The city's Disaster and Emergency Management Services says it responded to the incident earlier this morning and managed to rescue 3 occupants who sustained minor injuries. 1 other occupant was fatally injured. The district manager, William Ntladi, says they are on high alert for any eventualities as parts of the country, including the metro, experience severe weather conditions.
We had one incident around 2:30 this morning, whereby a huge tree crushed about several shacks, about 5 of them in Makause informal settlement, and fatally crashing on one of the occupants of the shacks. So we are still on scene as we speak. We transported 3 other occupants of the shacks with minor injuries as well.
The Western Cape government has urged residents in the Garden Route and Little Karoo regions to exercise caution and stay safe. A level 8 storm surge made landfall last night. Cabinet says it's been meeting to assess the state of readiness of disaster risk management teams and discussing the latest input from the Joint Operations Centre, which has been activated. The acting Premier, Dr. Ivan Meyer, says the highest priority is to protect lives in the light of the situation.
Heavy rains, strong winds and storms are expected on Wednesday 6 May and Thursday 7 May in the Western Cape. We are doing everything in our power to protect lives, livelihoods, property and animals. Selected schools in affected areas will be closed on Wednesday, on the 6th of May, and Thursday, the 7th of May this week.
Nelson Mandela Bay residents have been warned to be extra cautious as most roads and low-lying areas have been flooded in the metro due to heavy downpours last night. It's estimated that about 140 millimeters of rain fell in the early hours of this morning. Several roads have been closed, including parts of the M4 freeway between Mount Road and Deal Party, while some streets in Zwide as well as Adu Road remain flooded. The Department of Education has instructed that all schools in the area remain closed for today and tomorrow. Motorists queued until midnight at petrol stations across the country to fill up ahead of the steep fuel price that takes effect today. The petrol price is up by R3.27 per litre, while diesel increased by R5.27 per litre. Motorists in Durban say they are struggling to keep up with the continuous hikes.
So to fill my vehicle is 2,800 rand. With the new price increase, it must probably go to 3,000 rand. I think it's ridiculous.
It's quite bad, especially when it comes to the financial issues that we're facing currently. From what we are earning as the employees in South Africa, it's quite going to go heavy on our pockets.
It's absolutely ridiculous and frustrating. We cannot cope as normal consumers to actually pay for these fuel increases.
We're not happy about the diesel prices at all.
Yeah, the fuel price is ridiculous high. With the next increase, it's making the living a bit stiffer,
And finally, Spain says it will let a cruise ship at the centre of a deadly outbreak of hantavirus travel to the Canary Island. The ship is currently anchored off Cape Verde. 3 of the 147 passengers who were on board have died and 1 patient is in a critical condition at a hospital in Sandton after contracting the virus. Another 3 people have reported symptoms. The BBC's Denny Eberhardt has the details.
Spain's Ministry of Health said it was asked to act by the World Health Organization and had a legal and moral duty to do so. It hasn't specified what ports the affected Dutch-flagged ship will head to, but the vessel's operator has spoken of Gran Canaria or Tenerife as possible destinations. The Spanish authorities are keen to stress that care will be provided without there being any contact with the local population. Meanwhile, specialist planes are being sent to Cape Verde to evacuate 3 people from the ship. 2 of them are said to require urgent medical care.
Recapping the top story, 1 person has died and 3 others have been injured after a tree fell on several shacks at the Makausi informal settlement in Ekurhuleni. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SAfm Sports. It's UEFA Champions League with Paris Saint-Germain heading to Munich tonight, holding a slender 5-4 advantage over Bayern Munich after last week's thrilling first leg in Paris. And we also bring you news with Tiger Woods. Well, he's been out for a while and not being part of a very special contingent when it comes to his new league that he's launched. We'll have the details for you at around 8:30.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Joined by Ogutle and Gwenya's father, Orbi. What's the weather like in the Netherlands and what's it like for you out there?
Yeah, the weather, we in spring now.
Okay.
Moving to summer, so it's getting warmer.
All right, now you must be absolutely delighted with what Ogutle has done. I mean, he's living up to his name here. Just a young football prodigy, starting at the age of 4, going to the Supersport Academy. You've been to Germany.
Yeah, Michael, it's been a long, but it seems short journey. Yeah, it's like yesterday when he was just 4, he decided that, look, I'm looking for a club, maybe to play that. Where can we go? And yeah, Supersport soccer schools in Kempton Park were there. And we started, and then I think the rest is history.
Top Sport on SAfm.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Cutting your own hair at home saves money, but you could really save by switching to Outsurance Essential Car Insurance. Made for older cars, a 68-year-old Andre pays only 450 Rand a month for his 2012 GWM Steed, gets claims paid in cash and chooses his own panel beater. Get Outsurance Essential Car Insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's, and information online.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Busy both ways now around Pretoria, the M1 South, the roadworks at the N4, Emma split still pushing Q back towards the Montana area, and then going north, a crash by Garsfontein, causing quite a big delay coming up from Botha Avenue through the R21 through Rigel up towards that side. Also a crash off the highway on Solomon Mohlahlana at Olympus Drive, causing some delays through Pretoria East. Collision on Olifantsfontein near Lever if you're coming from Blue Hills towards the highway, some extra delays there. N3 is pretty heavy today from Elands right the way through to Modderfontein if you're travelling up beyond Galulis. It stays busy into that Edenvale area. Durban, 2 breakdowns, both on the N2, both northbound. One before Spaghetti Junction, so that's heavy. The other up by Mshlanga, which is just being cleared, but it's left a backlog to clear through from as far back as Queen Nandi Drive territory. M7 going into Pinetown quite slow as well today. Cape Town, N1 into town, heavy from Plattekloof all the way through to city centre. The N2 inbound, sluggish from Danafontein Road. Robert Sobukwe just after the airport right through to Hospital Bend. The M3 is pretty slow into Hospital Bend as well. And if you're driving out of Cape Town, the N2 under pressure from Macassar, going out past a crash in as you enter Somerset West. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 10 after 8 o'clock. Welcome to the third hour of the National Briefing as we bring you clarity, context and conversation. Coming up in this hour, a debate that goes to the heart of public health and public choice. The tobacco bill, pitched as a generational intervention to curb nicotine addiction. Health advocates are arguing that it's long overdue. The vaping industry, however, says it risks shutting down harm reduction tools that have helped adult smokers quit. We'll get into that debate shortly. And then later on in the hour on Built in Mzansi, we meet an engineer, founder of African Code, building a young pipeline of coders from the ground up. And we'll ask one of the questions, what does it really take to prepare the next generation for a digital economy? Of course, we'll also be taking your calls and WhatsApp voice notes. Did you hear that eyewitness account of what happened with the Fidelity Guard yesterday? Yeah, really traumatic events for those people that were in the shopping centre in Bushbuck Ridge yesterday. So we'd love to hear more from you. 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. That's 0614 104 107.
You're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Did you know the moonwalk was first performed in slippers? Now, we can't prove this fuzzy fact, But we can promise that when you show support for Slipper Day, you help fulfill dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses. And that's a fact. Do it for the dreamers and wear your slippers on Friday, 29 May. Visit reachforadream.org.za to find out more. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
FlySafe Air's 12th birthday bash has started with 50,000 domestic sale tickets up for grabs. It's fast, it's frantic. It's your shot at some of the cheapest flights around. However, due to high fuel costs at the moment, their deal looks a bit different this year. Base fares are as low as 12 Rand, but fuel surcharges and taxes apply on top of that. It's still the best flight bargain around. So dash in a flash to flysafeair.co.za to book. T's and C's apply.
This is Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
Well, let's get into this conversation then. It's 13 after 8 o'clock. The Control of Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery Systems Bill is a piece of legislation that has been winding through Parliament, and ultimately it seeks to tighten the rules on smoking, ban indoor vaping, restrict advertising, and impose plain packaging. There's much within this terrain that is contested. It is the science, it is the economics, and of course the moral case. On one side, public health advocates say young South Africans are being addicted to nicotine through flavored vapes that are designed to hook them. On the other, harm reduction advocates argue that vaping has been the most effective tool the world has ever had to get adult smokers off cigarettes, and that this bill would send people back to the very products it claims to limit. Let me welcome my guest then for this next half hour. Joining us is Kurt Yo. He's from Vaping Saved My Life. He's a co-founder and producer there. Kurt, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners.
And from the National Council Against Smoking, Executive Director, Professor Lekan Ayo Yusuf. Professor Lekan, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. All right, it looks like we're still working on getting the prof on. There we go. I understand that he's just been able to join. So, Kurt, let me start with you and talk then about some of the challenges that electronic delivery systems bill. Why are you opposing it? Why do you think that there shouldn't be legislation that curtails or even limits vaping in the country?
Well, I think we need to be correct here. I'm not in no way, shape, or form against regulations or legislations around vaping products or any product that provides nicotine to individuals. I believe very strongly that there should be regulations and there should be legislation. My objection as a consumer is that it doesn't distinctly or doesn't it doesn't. There's no differentiation between the product categories. We legislating and regulating a product that has a very different risk profile, proven by evidence and science, to the deadliest product that we know. We can't put them in the same category, can't regulate them and legislate them in the same way. That's always been our objection. The objection, we've never been against regulations. We fully agree with clauses that prevent the sale and supply of these products to the youth. We fully agree that the marketing of these products should be appropriate. We fully agree with a lot of these things, but what we don't agree with is that you cannot treat a product that that kills one in two long-term users to a product that is proving to be very successful in helping people quit smoking.
Kurt, if you're to think about a single or the single strongest argument against the bill in its current form, what would that argument be?
Sorry, say that again, Cathy?
So if you were to think of the single strongest argument from Vaping Saved My Life against this bill in its current form, what would that argument be?
The argument would be is that we need to differentiate between the different product categories that deliver nicotine to the consumer. At one side, we have combustible tobacco, which is proven to be incredibly harmful to people that use it. On the other side, we have non-combustible products that are showing to be significantly less harmful. We're not saying they're safe. We're saying that they are less harmful, and therefore they should be treated differently. We can't treat the same products equally. We see this with a whole host of other regulations. It doesn't mean we don't want regulations. It just means that we want regulations that applies to the risk that the products have on the population and in public health.
Professor Lekan, let me bring you in here. You've heard what Kurt has said, that the way in which tobacco products are being dealt with has not been distinguished or clearly distinguished within this piece of legislation. And you could well be undoing gains against nicotine addiction that our society has been struggling with. Do you agree with this argument?
Thank you. Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. I completely disagree with the argument, and I'm not sure why many people seem to misrepresent what this bill says. I'll give you an example. This bill clearly differentiates tobacco products from electronic delivery system. Section 4 of the bill speaks to standardized packaging of tobacco products and differentiates that from Section 5, speaks to the packaging and labeling of tobacco electronic delivery systems. So I'm not sure why this continued misrepresentation that this bill does not differentiate. It goes ahead talking about health warnings. Section 7 deals with tobacco products, and Section 7.1 and 7.2 talks to the packaging of electronic system. For example, it talks to health warning, Section 7.1, on packaging of tobacco products. It says it must display the following information. But when it comes to the packaging of electronic delivery systems, it says, including nicotine substances, they are used as non-nicotine delivery system, must display the following, which are separate and different from what that says about tobacco products. So I'm not sure where the problem is. It's either people are not reading, and it's rather unfortunate. And again, this bill clearly says the science is evolving, and it's just taking a precautionary principle. You cannot at any reasonable government allow people to be experimented on. So I think the challenge here is that people are running ahead of themselves. The regulation will spell out more of these issues, but we are not yet at the regulation spot. We are here talking about the legislation.
The issue around vaping seems to be the one that is also drawing the greatest scrutiny, if not opposition. Let's talk about vaping in our country, and in particular, the uptake of vaping amongst young people. What does the data actually tell us versus what we are seeing internationally?
So the situation of vaping is quite a sad and a very good example why governments around the world should not sit back and watch the tobacco industry pursue their profit agenda. So vaping came into South Africa about roughly 2010, and nothing has happened. They've been allowed to advertise with the hope that many South Africans who are smokers would take up vaping and give up the smoking. Unfortunately, what we are seeing is that those who are smoking are continuing to smoke and pick up the vaping. But more concerning is that those who have never smoked, very young people who have never smoked, are vaping. And that proportion of never smokers who are vaping moved from 14% in 2018 and has moved to about 32% in 2025, our latest data. So 1 out of every 3 of those vapors have never smoked. So we have creating a whole new generation of nicotine addicts. And of course, we know data have shown that they may eventually move on to smoking. More importantly, South African data, not UK, not Sweden, because they tend to use all these other countries. South African data has shown that those smokers who moved to vaping, they were able to stop smoking for 3 months, 6 months, and then they relapsed. In fact, they were more likely to relapse to the smoking than those who did not try vaping to try to quit. That's the data we have. So when you put this together, vaping is causing more population harm than any individual benefit to a smoker.
But what we often see is that vaping is positioned as being better than smoking. In fact, there's some who say it's not smoking, that it's not harmful in the way in which cigarettes are.
That is the problem of communication, and this is exactly what this bill is saying. It is very difficult for you to put out a message out there and say it is less harmful. If you translate that in some local languages, it will sound it is not harmful. And that's where the problem is. It is now advertised as a very lifestyle with a lot of flavors, cartoon, young people appeal, and that's what this bill is saying. Now, you cannot just do that. The bill is not banning vaping to the extent that some people, for example, you may go to a specialist shop like a tobacconist and get your vape, but you cannot have a reasonable government allowing these vapes to be advertised in the way they advertise. And as young as 13-year-olds start vaping, the schools are overwhelmed because these vapes have what we call nicotine salt and makes them very addictive. So it is a problem. Some of them as high as 50 milligrams. So this is really, really a serious problem in the country that needs very urgent attention.
Kurt, let me bring you in here and let's talk about then this idea of being less harmful, but based on the figures that the Prof has just said, especially around how it's picking up amongst the country's teenagers, that is concerning.
I think it is very concerning in terms of youth uptake is always very concerning, but we need to be very clear what the data is showing. The data is showing that the survey was conducted on the most wealthiest schools in the country. 25,000 children were interviewed at schools that had internet access. And if we look at the basic education department, only 10% of schools when the survey was conducted had those facilities. We then also look at the research of that particular survey and indicate that 60% of the participants in that survey attended a single-sex school. So that doesn't disqualify it at all. It just points out that we're using a very biased approach in dealing with this topic. What I would recommend, and what we have not done for an entire over a decade, close to almost 2 decades now, is that we don't do proper research around nicotine or any other risky behavior across the entire spectrum of kids in this country. I would be shocked to see the uptake of cigarettes, particularly if we put it in the background of illicit cigarettes and how cheap and how easily available those products are to the greater majority of our children in this country. But there's never ever been whatsoever an objection of having these products regulated and legislated not to be sold to people under 18.
The difference,
it's never
of
been
course,
an argument.
Yeah, the difference, of course, Kurt, is that it doesn't come in strawberry milk or bubblegum or cotton candy flavor. It doesn't come packaged as something that's really cool and really aspirational from a lifestyle point of view, and that also seems targeted towards young people.
But Cathy, neither do cigarettes. Cigarettes don't come in flavors, but yet we've seen cigarette increase in the youth. If we look at the 2021 Global Tobacco Survey that was conducted in South Africa, unfortunately, we only surveyed 290 plus people between the ages of 15 and 17. We didn't do 25,000, but those products don't have flavors, and yet we've seen an increase in that. And that's on the backdrop of no advertising, no flavors, no flashy packaging. We're seeing that increase in that aspect. The problem is that we can talk about regulations and we can talk about legislations till the cow come home, but if we don't have the ability to enforce these things, we then have a situation that we currently find in this country, is that the illicit cigarettes are flooding the market. Everybody and anybody can have access to them at the most ridiculously low prices.
So
again,
Kurt, where it concerns young people then, what are you saying about vaping? Are you saying that the sale should be left unregulated? Are you saying that it shouldn't be that significant? Because I also listened to how you positioned that research that was conducted, right? You're saying, yes, this is a sample of what is happening in a certain demographic in the country. You don't think it's fully representative. Therefore, what then for you is the value of this research and what it is telling us about what is happening with young people?
I think the value of this research is it's showing that a certain cohort, particularly in the wealthy communities, vaping is definitely on the uptake, and that's a problem. It's a big problem, and I agree with it. But we shouldn't say that it's flooding every single school. We should be very open to the idea or to the understanding that nicotine consumption in this particular cohort of kids or people under the age of 18 is increasing. Not just around vaping, it's around smoking, it's around other risky behaviors. And we need to be very honest about that and clear. And we shouldn't just say that it's because of flavors and that. There's definitely a deeper issue that's relying around this.
Yes,
and
so ultimately, what does that mean, Kurt, then for vaping and the industry and how it is regulated? I want you to bring it home for me, please.
Basically what it means is that if we need to acknowledge that if we're going to talk about flavors, I don't have an argument around the inappropriate marketing and the inappropriate messaging around these products. But let's just talk about flavors. Adults use flavors to help them move to these safer products. Based on surveys, not only the surveys that we've conducted in South Africa, but surveys around the world, the overwhelming majority of people that have switched from smoking to less harmful alternatives like vaping have indicated that flavors are critical in that process. This is not foreign when we consider the food industry. We offer less harmful alternatives like sugar-free and low-fat products with flavors to help people transition to a less harmful alternative.
Okay, Kurt. Prof, let me give you the last word, briefly, please.
Again, what your guest does not talk to is that this legislation differentiates enough between the tobacco products and this new products. This legislation has not banned flavors. It provides, as you had in the 2007 and 2008 amendment, because sometimes the old conversations that see all of this are new. They're basically putting all the pieces of the 1993, 2007, and 2008 amendment into one. So this already existing. The powers to the minister to regulate is already existing. We should wait for the regulation and have the discussion whether that flavor is going to be restricted on those other products or not. Let us pass this bill and save a next generation of our young South Africans from this addiction.
Let me thank you both for your time this morning. And if you have a young person living under your roof, are you having these conversations with them? The number of young people, right, that you will see going into vaping stores in the malls, vaping at restaurants, at least just anecdotal experience, that seems to be largely on the increase, right? And it looks cool. It's made to look like, yeah, but it's not smoking. But yet it does contain nicotine. It is harmful. Less harm does not mean zero harm. But what then becomes the regulatory framework that needs to be brought into the system? I'll take your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. And Musa, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Cathy. In the headlines, National Coloured Congress leader Fadil Adams' lawyer says Adams is likely to appear in court tomorrow, as he has not yet been formally charged. Earlier reports indicated that he was expected to appear in a Durban court this morning. Police in Durban have seized cocaine worth approximately 13 million rand at the city's harbour. Police say the bust followed an intelligence operation after the recovery of drugs in Gauteng in April. And one person has died and 3 others have been injured after a tree fell on several shacks at the Makausi informal settlement in Ekurhuleni. The city's disaster and emergency management services say it responded to the incident earlier this morning. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Let's start off with an update from Pretoria. It's been very heavy on the M1 highway again today. Southbound, the roadworks down by the N4 Hatfield and Mohlahlana split still heavy coming from Montana. And then northbound, there's a crash going into Garsfontein, and that's causing a big delay back in towards Botha Avenue territory. Joburg not looking too bad. The real standout there's the N3 from Cement Factory all the way through to Modderfontein Road remains heavy. Durban, 2 breakdowns on your way up to Spaghetti Junction along the N2 North. It's jam-packed this morning from the M7 up through the breakdowns and through Spaghetti Junction, then into the roadworks up around the Westwood Mall area. Still very heavy for this time of day. Cape Town, a lot of pressure coming in on the M3 today. Wynberg Hill through to UCT. M5 from around about Parkwood, Southwood area, sort of Ottery, I guess, back of Ottery, all the way through to the N2. That is a heavy queue coming up that M5 highway this morning. And the run through Tableview to Milnerton, worst of the traffic there from Milnerton in towards the Parton Island area. Pretty extensive flooding through Rebecca region down in the Eastern Cape. Be very cautious where you're heading out that way today. Also some aggressive flooding around the Knysna and George regions as big rains make their presence felt on local routes. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai Khan, good morning. Let's take a look at the UEFA Champions League. Some news there. PSG's heading to Munich tonight.
Yeah, it's a big one, especially after that 5-4 9-goal thriller last week. Luis Enrique's side, maybe without their key defender, Ashraf Hakimi, and that's through injury, while Bayern, they are banking on Harry Kane and home support at the Allianz Arena to overturn the deficit, and this is promising to be a blockbuster semi-final. And we've also got our very own action. The Soweto Giants Kaizer Chiefs are set for a high-stakes showdown, and that's with Mamelodi Sundowns, and it's a clash that could define their pursuit of continental football. With the race for a CAF spot reaching boiling point, Amakhosi are looking forward to snatching that 3 points from Masandawana as they look to secure third place. You can catch the action live on SABC Sport. Now, Sports Minister Gator McKenzie announcing the 16 winners of the Mzansi to the World Cup competition, with one supporter from each PSL club earning a fully sponsored trip to the 2026 FIFA World Cup in Mexico. The lucky fans will travel to support Bafana Bafana in their opening Group A clash against host Mexico on the 11th of June. And South Africa, the countdown is on. SABC 3 is your official home of the FIFA World Cup 2026. That's right, 34 matches live on SABC 3, streaming on SABC Plus and across SABC radio stations nationwide from the 11th of June to the 19th of July. Cricket action, the Chennai Super Kings claimed a 8-wicket win over the Delhi Capitals in the Indian Premier League last night. British number 1 Emma Raducanu has withdrawn from the Italian Open in Rome, and that's due to a post-viral illness. Raducanu has not played since Indian Wells in March, having already withdrawn from tournaments in Miami, Linz and Madrid, as well as Britain's Billie Jean King Cup tie against Australia. Golf, John Rahm is set to return fully to the DP World Tour after agreeing to pay outstanding fines linked to his participation in live golf events. The settlement clears the Spaniard to compete in World Tour events again and keeps him eligible for the 2027 Ryder Cup in Ireland.
But then as the future of the league goes, I think that's obviously a question for the business people. We want to be here. It's been a lot of fun. I want to keep competing. I want to keep sharing some time with them. but time will tell. Obviously, I think Scott and his team have a lot of hard work to do.
And finally, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson are out of next week's PGA Championships. Woods has not played a major since the 2024 British Open, while Mickelson has played only one live golf event this year as he deals with a family health matter. 2 spots remain open depending on results from the PG Tour events this week. That's your sport on the National Briefing. You can swing back for more around 12:30 with John Khadika. I am Sai Khan.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAfm Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Call SAfm now on 086 000 2032.
All right, it's 8:39. Receiving lots of your reactions to the conversation that we've just had on vaping. Jen in Cape Town says, Cathy, the people I see hanging around vape stores are always the cool kids, not mature adults. There's a problem here. My nephew says half the kids at school smoke vapes at break time. That's a message coming through from Cape Town. Another message from one of our listeners. It says, the UK government has passed the Tobacco and Vapes Bill, received royal assent on the 29th of April 2026, and it's to create a smoke-free generation, which includes strict regulations on vapes to protect children. Key measures include banning disposable vapes, restricting vape flavors, and controlling packaging advertising to curb youth addiction. So that's just an example of what other parts of the world are doing with this conversation. Another one of our listeners says, Cathy, you need to bring this type of show to use for energy drinks. It's also advertised to children and it has caffeine. It's accessed by all people in the country, and people are using these drinks as meal replacements or because they can't afford the needed food and they use the drinks to provide energy. Well, thank you for that. I do think that it's something that we can and should look into having that conversation. Before I bring in the calls, I just want to take just this one voice note and then we'll go to the phone lines.
Hi, Cathy. Joanne in Cape Town. My question would be, who is funding the pro-vapers? Because it's likely to be the vaping industry, which is problematic, as history will tell us.
Yeah, and I guess that question, right, it goes both ways. Even in the tobacco industry, often you do find links between the bodies that are set up to defend, the use to defend matters or stances on advertising, that they have their links somehow back to the industry, at least if you trace the money. Tiffany, you in Durban, good morning.
Schools in Durban, they actually confiscated Tiffany,
yeah. I'm going to ask you just to start from the top. We lost you there in the beginning.
I said, yeah, in Durban, in the Mzimtoti, we had a school where kids were confiscated. They confiscated our vaping from the kids. Let alone vapes. You see this tobacco-flavored tobacco, like you can smoke on a hookah pipe. It's sold at our local tuck shops.
The vapes are sold at your local tuck shop on the school premises?
No, not vapes. I'm like, even you get the tobacco for a hookah pipe. You
I
find it
see,
at a tuck shop.
the small round ones.
Yes, the one you smoke with the round ash that burns. You find them at the foreign tuck shops. They sell that, let alone vaping. If you have a hookah pipe and you're a kid, you smoke it. Cigarettes get sold to even a 5-year-old by sent by their parents to the tuck shops to go buy cigarettes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Yeah. So you're talking about hubblies, like
yes, hubbly.
Yeah.
So
hubbly.
you get the tobacco that that you smoke in there, at a local tuck shop.
Yeah.
With the coal that you burn and smoke at it. Vaping, yes, it's wrong. It's not nice. Not all of us smoke, but at the end of the day, we're gonna ban it. Like they banned it advertising cigarettes when I was growing up. Don't even see adverts anymore on cigarettes being advertised on TV. But let alone that, where I used to work before, the ladies actually buy for her daughter. Her daughter's about 16, and when her daughter wants something, she gets it, whatever she wants. Us as parents, too, we also encourage our kids to do things that they're not supposed to by offering and buying for them.
All right, Tiffany, thanks for that contribution. So you're saying that there's a broader societal shift that needs to happen. You can try and tackle the problem one way, but there are multiple other avenues that become available for young children or minors to even access these products. It's part of the conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
Especially in the society that we live in now, when you're a rich parent and you can afford for your kids, and you give them that advantage where if they want, they always get.
All right.
And like us, yeah.
Tiffany, thanks for that contribution. Let's leave it there. Tiffany is out in Durban.
Hi, Cathy. Hi, SAFM listeners. Interesting conversation with the vaping. I don't understand Kurt's argument. The fact that they did surveys in affluent schools, does this make that any less credible that children are getting addicted to nicotine? That is the point of the discussion. The tobacco companies own majority of the vaping companies, and they are getting children hooked on nicotine at an early age. You catch them young, you have a customer for life. That's the mantra from the cigarette company. So, except I'm missing something, I don't understand Kurt's argument. DJ Cape Town.
Kathy, this is very nonsensical. How come a product move from Europe to South Africa and operate without regulation? Who must account? Which department?
In relation to what happened at Bushbuck Ridge, if that thug was successful and probably killed the driver and get away and took the money and was not arrested, what was going to be justice there? Because it seems that sometimes we must be sympathetic as people. But if people are terrorizing other people and are killing other people, like this guy, because probably that's what they are doing, how far do we go sympathizing?
Call SAFM now on 086 000 2032.
Well, let me bring in more of your calls. Tabi, so you're in Polokwane. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy.
Yes,
Cathy, we still have to deal with illicit cigarettes that are everywhere in each and every corner of our country. Everywhere you turn, you get an illegal cigarette and so on and so forth. But that is not the issue that I wanted to deal with.
Sorry, Tabi, so before you move on, and don't you get a sense that it seems like the authorities have given up even trying to get it off the streets? Because it's if you go to a spaza shop now, they literally give you the option. You're going to find more options of illicit cigarettes than you are going to find regulated products. Yeah.
The cheaper one is an illicit one. So, and we're trying by all means to deal with, people who are addicted to all these drugs and all of that. But these things are just available. I mean, if you get out of SABC, probably someone in the corner is selling one illicit cigarette from Zimbabwe or any other country that are able to, that are able to make sure that they get into our shores, either through a land or port. That thing is happening. We still have to deal with that. But Cathy, we're not treating the whole issue and the investigation that the SIU is doing insofar as what they have said, that the problem ranges from 20 years ago. We're not treating it in the sensitivity it deserves. And I'm saying this on the basis that imagine those individuals who are carrying our passports, our IDs, who are roaming all over the world. benefiting from the corruption that has been, happening in our country. Imagine the respect that we have been afforded some years ago to our passport, which we no longer have. Imagine you landing in a particular country. So first thing first, when you release your passport, they start to suspect that you probably might be carrying drugs or you are a criminal and so on and so forth. And I think in this particular country, we need to treat this particular matter of corruption in Home Affairs as a matter of urgency. If it means that there must be a way in which a multidisciplinary team established to get into the bottom of this, we cannot just deal with the symptoms of omodosos and the busheries of this way.
Absolutely.
What about those who, you might actually even find there are a number of white people there in Cape Town who got through back door, through this corruption that is happening in Home Affairs. And we are just saying, no, but, SIU will make investigation through a proclamation by the president, and after that, they will make referrals to NPA. NPA will investigate, and 3 individuals in Home Affairs. Those minor individuals will get arrested and say, oh, but we're dealing with corruption. What about the sovereignty of the country that has been compromised by syndicates who are selling our documents in this country?
Okay.
So this is an issue that must be dealt with as a matter of fact.
It is absolutely treasonous, Tabiso. One even thinks about maybe we need a commission of inquiry into these syndicates. Imagine what that would uncover. Denzel, you're in Morokweng. Good morning. Oh, Denzel, you've put us on hold. Okay. While Denzel tries to come off hold, Becky, you're in Mbombela. Good morning, Becky.
A very good morning to you, Cathy, and your listeners. I just wanted to touch base regarding the illegal passports and IDs, the fraudulent one, and so on. This is a serious conundrum that we are faced with as South Africans, because remember, this is the same modus operandi that has been used by the ruling party when they used to enter certain countries. And not for long, we heard that our number one had got 2 identity documents with different ID numbers. That itself, it tells you that we are on our own when it comes to the regulation of the access control of people coming and going out of South Africa. However, the point that I want to make is that until then, we put a system in place that will make sure that people who are not born in South Africa are being identified, maybe electronically or through a biometric. But I can tell you, we are next to the borders of Mozambique and Swaziland. What these people are doing, whenever it's a day of a social grant, they flock into South Africa, they get their grant, and they go back. And I'm not talking in rhetoric. I'm talking on things that we have seen, that we have experienced. Katie, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, Becky, the implications of it are enormous, and I agree that we shouldn't just leave it at the officials who have done wrong, but track in the system. What does it mean? Dr. Nyatsanza, good morning. You are a public health consultant. You want to add to the vaping conversation?
Yes, good morning, and to your viewers. I just want to add one or two on the vaping conversation, a very important conversation you were having with Kat and Prof. Lekan. So the two things are mainly to always remember that the main vaping industry are owned by the 4 biggest tobacco companies. So it's still the same British American Tobacco, your Philip Morris. It's still the same people who actually control, the vaping industry. And I also wanted to say we cannot agree that they are not marketing to children. You hear the vaping industry saying we don't market to kids or we don't intend to market to the kids. But I think what we need to look at as a community, as citizens, is how they are marketing currently. You see, cartoon packages, you see flavors like Cocomelo on the, on these vapes, and that already tells you who the target market is. The target market is not a 20, 25-year-old. The target market are the kids as early as 9. And in terms of the data, lastly, the data that was being talked about, yes, there are surveys that were done, for example, in affluent schools, but the surveys have been done as well in different parts of South Africa. We have already more than just one data set, indicating that there is a problem that needs to be dealt with agency. Thanks, Kathy.
Dr. Nyatanza, let me thank you for that contribution. All right, Rob Byrne is standing by with your latest traffic update. Rob Byrne, good morning.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, morning, Cathy. There's a lot going on around the country this morning. The R40 now out in Mpumalanga. There's been a tanker that has crashed, partly blocking that road between White River and Hazy View, just up by the dam exit. So expect some delays there. Pretoria, we've had another busy run coming southbound into the roadwork zone this morning from Montana. It gets slower the closer you get towards the N4, Mohlahlana split into the work zone there. And the N1 running north, that crash up by Garsfontein, still causing a really big backlog from Borta Avenue up through Rigel and Garsfontein on your way in towards that scene. Breakdown on the M1 North at New Road, so from Allendale it's all clogged up. Crash on the M1 South at William Mandela, from Rivonia Road, that all gets a bit jammed up through there as well. Durban side this morning, a couple of breakdowns before Spaghetti Junction have been cleared, so that section of the N2 is easing a lot actually. It looks okay now through Westwood Mall and further up through Mount Edgecombe. That earlier breakdown cleared away as well. Cape Town, fairly heavy on the N1 from Plattekloof Road right through to the city centre. A lot of congestion around Athlone, Klipfontein Road, Jan Smuts Drive, those routes badly backed up. And a lot of flooding, particularly bad around Knysna this morning, likely to continue all day, and around Rebecca after heavy overnight rains. Many routes are underwater and flooded, and there's more rain due this afternoon into that region. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Outsurance can't improve your couch coaching skills, but they could improve the car insurance premium you currently pay. SMS out to 30754. Get a quote today, and if Outsurance can't save you money on your car insurance premium, ask for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get a quote and get savings or cash. Either way, you win. SMS out to 30754. When it comes to car insurance, you couldn't be in better hands. Outsurance was voted News 24 Short-Term Insurer of the Year for 4 years in a row. Built Reader's Choice Best Insurer 4 years in a row. And City Press Reader's Choice Best Insurer Award 3 years in a row. Clearly, they all feel they're getting something out. SMS right now to see if you can switch and save. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer in FSP. T's and C's online.
Built in Mzansi on the National Briefing.
Well, after a morning of hard news and difficult conversations, it's the part of the show where we get to change gear slightly, look at what is being built in this country and the people that are behind the solutions that we're looking at. Today, we are hosting Tsheho Dludla, who is the founder of African Code. It's a social enterprise that puts coding and robotics into the hands of young South Africans. Tsheho, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. So coding, robotics, it seems to be a bit of a buzzword right now. Yeah, we must have coding in schools. There must be robotics from grade R. But what does it actually all mean?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. Yes, you're right. It is a buzzword lately. And for those of us who have been doing it for quite a long time, we're so happy that everybody else has come to the party. But what it essentially means is that we want our children, from as young as we possibly can get them, thinking in a way that promotes problem solving and critical thinking. So it's not just about the technology. The technology is a tool that we use to get children learning and thinking in a critical manner that helps solve problems. At the end of the day, that's what matters the most, right? That's why we go to school.
So tell us a little bit about how you at African Code are doing it.
At African Code, we believe that educators are where it all begins, are where it's most important. And so we train teachers on how to teach coding and robotics in the classroom and how to use coding and robotics to enhance learning of other subjects. So to use it as a tool. We believe that, teaching a group of kids is great, but if we train a group of educators, that means we are multiplying the effect that the tool and the education would have exponentially.
There have been some plans by the Department of Basic Education to roll out a coding and robotics curriculum in identified grades. Right now, what do you think are some of the challenges that you are seeing in our schools that perhaps make this particularly difficult, at least from a scale point of view?
So there's three main challenges that are making it quite difficult to do a full proper rollout. So number one is infrastructure issues. We have quite some, challenges when it comes to connectivity, electricity and such when we look at especially our rural schools and a little bit with our township schools. That's the first part. Resourcing is the second, where coding and robotics resources tend to be quite pricey, if we are honest. And so a lot of the schools don't have that kind of budget. We've got a lot of our public schools that are no fee paying schools. And so those budgets are quite limited. We do have solutions for that, like unplugged coding, but it does come and hit with our third challenge, which comes to the training of educators. I think for me, the biggest, and this has been in discussion also with the department, one of the biggest challenges that we are facing is the training of educators, or making sure that the educators we've got are well trained enough to work with or without resources to make sure that all the learners are equipped and are able to actually grasp the concepts.
When we look at the digital economy, it's going to define the next 20 years of this country and going forward. How are you ensuring that this is a conversation that is alive in classrooms with young people, especially when it comes to tech careers, something that young people might be aware of, but their parents maybe not so much?
Look, awareness is a big thing. And right now, I think a lot of energy and efforts should be put towards awareness as a first thing for those who are not necessarily in the classroom, so that they can encourage their children to have some form of interest, because it doesn't matter which industry a child is interested in, there is some element of tech, AI, or anything of that nature that's in there. So having parents being aware and having as much exposure to these things as possible, and that's the space in which we play. We make sure that children in rural areas, children in township areas are as exposed to these things as possible with different projects, whether we do just basic trainings, whether we do competitions for robotics and innovation, all our different initiatives in partnership with the different corporate companies that join hands with us. That's where we put all of our attention, awareness and exposure.
Tshego Dludla is an engineer and founder of African Code on Built in Mzansi today. That's where we'll leave it for this Wednesday morning. Up next is the Daily Discourse with Joanne Joseph. Have yourselves a wonderful day and stay tuned to SAFM.
In our top stories, drugs worth millions of rands seized in Durban, and Fadil Adams likely to appear in court tomorrow. Good morning. Police in KwaZulu-Natal have recovered drugs worth 13 million rand from a vessel carrying buses from South America at the Durban harbour. The drugs were discovered yesterday during an operation that began in April this year. Authorities found 32 bricks of cocaine concealed in the compartments of one of the buses. No arrests have been made as yet. The provincial police spokesperson, Robert Nechihunda.
The operation started in April when there was a drug consignment which was recovered in Gauteng, and from that point it was found that the drugs got into the country via the Durban hub. That's where intelligence was activated to track and monitor certain vessels which were coming from the South American country. And in those vessels, one of them, which was transporting buses, was flagged. And in one of the buses, that's where bricks of cocaine, 82 of them, were found hidden in the air conditioning compartment.
National Coloured Congress leader Fadil Adams' lawyer says Adams